Supercross rider overcame massive expectations to become one of the greatest in the sport. Eli Tomac was born into racing royalty. His father, John Tomac, was a legendary mountain biker. He started riding dirt bikes as a kid, quickly proving that talent and hard work, not just a famous name, drives success.
But nothing was really given to me, like it was always earned.
At age 17, Eli turned pro and instantly made his presence known in the 250 class.
Dude, it was just running the high of being at your first pro national, like this is it.
In 2017, at Daytona, Eli Tomac introduced the world to beast mode, and the sport was never the same.
My dad was like, always burnt that into my brain is you don't quit.
In 2020, he finally captured the only title eluding him, winning his first Monster Energy Supercross championship in the Premier class.
Getting the Supercross championship, man, because that was a mountain on me.
In 2022, some thought the Colorado native would ride off into the sunset, but he stunned the industry with a switch to Yamaha, and it paid off, battling now with his third generation of elite competition. Today, Eli Tomac stands as a testament that no matter your lineage, your legacy is earned through dedication, resilience, and the love of the game. Eli Tomac, welcome to Gypsy Tales. Eli Tomac, welcome to Gypsy Tales.
All right, here we are.
We're doing it.
Yeah, it's man, all of a sudden it's another season, another year here. I just came in from Arizona, road tripped it over here with the family, straight into Gypsy Tail.
So what are you guys doing in Phoenix or Arizona? Is that a little bit of like a West Coast kind of base camp for you guys now, or?
Yeah, it's just my base camp this year.
Yeah, sick.
So we've got 2 tracks to ride, and it's closer to Colorado.
Yeah.
So it just made sense. Like my wife has some family there. You know, it's just a good spot for us. Like there's tons of horse trails. My wife likes riding horses now. Even like my mom loves riding her horse. And it's just a spot that we've always gone down to is the Phoenix kind of greater area. So we're making it work this year. If I could do it all over again, kind of wish I could do it, you know, my West Coast swing stuff out in AZ. Just because it's literally a 6-hour drive from Cortez, so it's right there.
6 hours is super manageable too.
Yeah, it's way better than 11 to get out to SoCal.
Where'd you used to do it?
I was just right above the Kawasaki track in Corona.
Yeah, right. So
I
just stayed super local.
Yep, it was, dude. I would go down there, water the track. You know, the night before, I would do all the cannons like myself. But it was sweet, and it worked out. Like, I mean, literally, you know, 30 seconds. I was above the Kawasaki track, and before that, I was in the apartments across the street in Dos Lagos.
Yeah.
When I was at Honda, so. Anyway, I've been out of California for a couple of years that way.
I think as you probably get a bit older and the kids and they got like their own interests and everyone's kind of like wants to do their own thing, it probably makes sense. Like, put some place for horses, get a bit of space, and feel like you've always kind of liked to be a bit away too. So it's probably like, because dude, even I'm feeling it. Like I turned the phone off for Christmas, just didn't have anything going at all, and then it was like phone on last week, Wednesday or whatever it was, and I just feel like I haven't stopped. And it's like this whole A1, like getting ready to have you on the show and just the whole thing. It's like once that train leaves the station, like it's very hard to slow it down. So I feel like going back to Arizona in between is probably just a bit of a way to, kind of chill too.
It will be. And then before the Arizona thing, like that, I've only been there a week, honestly. And before that, I was in Florida. So I did like all of December after the WSX stuff in Florida.
Yeah.
And then now that, all these West Coast races out here, I'm like, I'm going to make Arizona work. So it wasn't like all of December there or anything, but it's once again, it kind of gets you away from the mix. So when you're a racer, it's good to get away from it, right? A little bit during the week.
How was the WSX stuff? I mean, I enjoyed watching you race that. Like Perth, bro, was just... but fair warning, there's going to be some like full glazing over the next couple of hours because we've got some clips we want to watch and react to. So like, just get used to it, right? But seeing you at Perth, if you could like MX Sim build a track for Eli Tomac to race Supercross, like they just fully nailed it. Just every corner.
I mean, yeah. You hit the nail on the head with the way that dirt was, like a little bit of fluffy sand.
Yeah.
And we walked the track in the morning there, and I'm like, is this thing actually going to hold up like at all, or is it just going to blow out into a total
chance, dude.
Be a total mess? But it actually was being really sweet, in my opinion. I know some of the guys weren't digging it, like sliding around that much, but that dirt, for me, man, that is the dream ET track, like spraying the berms, roosting, and
even the whoops. Like there was some sick shots of like through the whoops, and I think the Canada whoops too. There was a couple like.
The Canada thing was the crazy wheelie, right?
Yeah.
And then Perth had like you'd get a good rhythm combo through it, but man, that track, it was cool. The finish line too.
Big finish line.
Something we would never see here in our AMA series, like a finish like that.
What's your take on having big stuff like that? Is it safe? Because like Kenny had almost worst case scenario off that thing, right? And completely fine. Mm-hmm. So I think here it seems like we get very scared and very shy of some of those like big scary things, but I don't know, that one worked. That was a pretty wild finish line.
That one was so big that everyone respected each other enough in the corner before that everyone was like, okay, we have to hit this jump.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
Yeah, we're all in this together. Yeah. And it actually made it really fun. You good? You hit it straight.
That's awesome.
And it's a sweet booter. It's hard to say. What do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if you had that for the C group guys, there would be massive yard sales. But
I don't know if
for that race,
my take on the C class or the C practice.
Well,
I would like it deleted from the program, but anyway, that's a different story.
It's a tough call. I guess AMA/Feld, they tried to put in some different things a couple years ago, like that massive triple at one of the speedways.
That's right, Hunter and
Prestage, the thing that Hunter yarded on.
Yeah,
I mean, that was out of the ballpark, and of course it failed the first time. Like they put something way different, and that was way bigger than anything that we've seen. So
didn't they have the super minis and stuff at that race as well? That wasn't it. Yeah. Even watching the super minis hit some of that stuff last year, I was like, damn, that's some big jumps.
But if you build it the right way, you can have those different things. Like the finish line landing in Perth. I mean, you had so much room for air to go long. I thought it wasn't that big a deal. Yes, if you cased it was bad, but there was a lot of room to go long on it.
Yeah. No, it was just iconic, just like really cool. And it was funny, the press conference at Charlotte and the question about 31 races and everyone kind of was like, yeah, it's getting pretty long. Sean Brennan said to me straight after, he's like, and they'll all go and do the off-season races, which you guys did. But I know I got bored quick. By the time Vegas got done, I was like, I'm over it. I want to stay home. But then no racing on Saturday, no racing on Sunday. I was like, it's kind of lame. I wouldn't mind seeing some racing. And then that came around and you and Kenny were battling and it was something to follow. And then Paris was on and then Australia was on. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty into this whole year-round Supercross deal,
In my mind, it just comes down to if you want to do it, and if you're motivated to do it, go race them.
Yeah.
If you need some time off, okay. But and there's no requirement for guys to be practicing 2 or 3 days a week either. That's another thing that's always crossed my mind is you get so stuck in this groove of having to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday. And I mean, maybe that doesn't have to be the case.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be the guy to test that theory out, but if we're going to have all these races, well, why do you have to practice, 2 or 3 days a week between the races?
Well, MotoGP.
That's what I'm saying. In car racing too.
Yeah, they don't ride. The boys don't drive. Dude, Danny's not in a car ever. He just goes to the races, he'll do the sim testing that he has to do, but it's just he'll say to get his eye in on preseason, the first tests that they do in the preseason. He's like, my neck hurts and it's kind of scary. But he's like, yeah, you just get your eye in. And that's one thing about the WSX, right? Like the first couple of years that they did it, I went to a few of the international races and like, dude, I'm just like, hey, Dino, should we get a coffee? It's like 3:00 on Wednesday before the race, and you're kind of there because you've got to travel and everyone's there, and you're just like, we'll just go for a walk in the city. And first lap of practice, everyone does every jump. Everyone's fine. Like that to me was a big eye opener of like, the traveling thing adds an element where you just can't ride and everyone's in the same boat. But the problem is in the off season, you like, I want to take a day off, and then you're like, dude, I wonder what Chase Sexton's doing. Like, I wonder what Cooper's doing. Is Cooper on the boat? It's like probably not. He's probably riding. So you're just not going to do it.
Yeah, it's true. It's I mean, that's always in the back of your mind, but what it comes down to is what happens when the race actually comes around. Do you perform, and then do you believe in yourself? Yeah. Like, you can't have that question in the back of your mind, did I do enough? But if you believe that you have done enough and then you do perform, then you're okay.
Didn't you do a MURPH before a national once?
I did. I think that was in
before Washougal.
I'm trying to remember the year. It was maybe 17. It was before Lakewood, and Baggett passed me on the top of the hill. So you go up like that uphill section, and then you come flying off the top of the Thunder Valley Hill. And that race, my arms were so jacked because I did a MURPH workout.
Do you want to explain for people that don't know what a MURPH is? Do you want to explain what that is?
I'm trying to remember the exact reps, but I think you start off like a mile run.
Yeah.
And then you go back in, and then it's like 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then a mile on the other side. The run may even been longer, but all I know is the push-ups and the pull-ups destroyed. It was the pull-ups ruined my biceps. And I did this like on a Monday, right? I'm like, oh man, like that was a gnarly workout. It made me really sore. But then it got worse. And my biceps were so locked up on the weekend, my arms wouldn't go straight. And I've had actually 2 moments like that, doing just, now I can say it, like just dumb things leading up to a race. One was the MURPH, and then 2, fixing fence at my place.
No way.
Like pounding fence posts. Same thing, ruined my forearms. This was before Unadilla.
Oh, good track to do that.
Yeah, perfect track, right? Like one of the hardest tracks to ride on. Yeah. Let's go pound some fence during the week.
Just cowboy hat.
No one else is doing this. It's going to make me tough. Yeah. Go ruin the weekend and the bonus money.
You got to do it. You're beast, mate.
Good memories.
I wonder, though, like, as you get older and you get a bit wiser, and I feel like, too, there's got to be an element of you've done so many 30s and so many 20s that, like, your body just kind of knows how to do it. You know, it's like, I wonder what the minimum you could ride is now and still get, because there's going to be, like, diminishing returns, right? Like, every workout, you can do a MURPH and it's too much, or you can do too little. Like, I wonder what would be the minimum to keep the maximum, if that makes sense.
I don't know, but in Supercross specifically, I think you could get away with a lot less than maybe motocross.
Yeah.
I think motocross is actually where you're going to run into issues if you didn't really put in that seat time. But
yeah,
I think Supercross, you can still get away with a lot of that being just purely skill-based.
Yeah. So did you enjoy the traveling element of it? Because you've just been very US-based for forever. And then you obviously got to go to Australia, then Dubai. Like, dude, Abu Dhabi and Dubai is a trip, especially like small town, Colorado, big ranch. And then you just go there and it's just like endless sand, skyscrapers, Bugattis, Ferraris. Like, it's
out
like
of nowhere.
Desert Vegas.
It was like that. Both, well, I'll start for Australia. Like, I haven't been there since I was 2 years old, so that was totally new for me.
Yeah. Did your dad race down there? And you went there
they
for
raced
that?
in, I don't remember. It was somewhere, it's on the East Coast, but north. I think is it Cairns?
Yeah, he did the 96 World Can you Google that? He did the 96 World Championships in my hometown. I actually have a crazy, I'll take a full little random sidebar. So my uncle was the head UCI downhill track designer when your dad was racing downhill. And so like my whole life from being like a real young kid, Eli Tomac was like the man in like a very... It's quite strange like 30 years later to fast forward, but yeah, like that was always a big name in our house because of what my uncle did. So
Small world.
Yeah, very small.
That's
random.
strange.
But yeah, so was this 96 Worlds? Yeah, so I bet that was the race.
Oh, there he is right there. I think he's in third.
The great man. Look at him go.
Yeah. Yep, you can see the Teagle helmet. That was like his classic helmet design.
What a legend.
But anyway, that was the time we were down there, and but then this year was the West Coast of Oz, so that was very interesting to see. I'll tell you what, I hate that plane ride though.
It's
pretty like going across, you know, and then you hop on another 5 hours. Like, wow, this is a long ways from home.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've done that flight 35 times, I reckon now.
Yeah.
Never once done it in
crazy.
business. It's brutal.
And then Abu Dhabi, it's same thing. It's like you're on this airplane forever, and then it's just, you know, propped up in the desert. It's like you said before. It's like nothing that you've ever seen.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it though? Like just to get to see the like a completely different.
Yeah, that's what I enjoy most, was seeing the different cultures and different lifestyles, really.
Yeah.
And just getting around the globe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like
cool.
the food and stuff in Dubai? Like, did you get to eat much good food?
Yeah, it was surprisingly
safe?
Western.
Yeah, yeah.
Westernized. And I was hoping it would, I don't know, you could probably go to places that are more like specifically their culture, but it was just easy, right? I mean, they're definitely catering to that Western, to that lifestyle. So you have this certain perception of what you're going to get there, but it was pretty easy for us just to be kind of normal at home, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So good little segue with Johnny T on the screen. Like, what was it like, and when did you know that your dad was like this kind of iconic figure in the way that, like, he kind of, like, yeah, he was a great sportsman, but kind of like the way he went about his career, and like he was kind of a very unique and special dude in that. And your career has kind of not like followed the trajectory, but it really seems like from the way that you turned out as a person, and even what your brother does, it's like he obviously was a big figurehead and like a mentor kind of guy. And it just would have been a pretty wild experience, like growing up with that. And when did you even realize that you had that guy?
I mean, as a kid, I just remember cruising around the mountain bike pits. Like, I don't even know what I had. They didn't have the Striders then, but it was just a small bicycle, right? And I would just cruise around, go poach like power bars off the power bar tent, table. Like,
drink tons.
I mean, it was super
Cybermax.
fun to be at the ski areas, right? As a kid, like being up on the mountain. And of course I knew he raced, but it's, I mean, for me, he was just pretty much dad. Like I just knew he was good at bikes. Like, but I didn't really pay much attention to, the exact things he accomplished, how many wins he had. I didn't really know anything about that, so, and then I don't know, it somehow turns into me getting a mini bike and us going down that road. It's wild, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess just to have a guy like him as like a guide, like you just kind of followed what he said and kind of like lived the way that he lived in a way, like you were just going to be fine. And I can imagine it would have been very cool to like, I don't know, was there a point where you realized that in a way? Because, you get some kids like almost rebel against their dad and like don't want to listen to their dad and purposely like don't want to take their advice. But I don't know, from the outside in, it just looks like you're like, yeah, all right. Like I feel like dad knows what's up.
Was that type to rebel. And he for sure is like my mentor.
Yeah.
And was my mentor, through this period in time, at the same time being dad. And I don't know why it worked, but it's guess it somehow did. And I look back on it like, you know, I was very privileged to have like a track, but nothing was really given to me, you know, like it was always earned. Never really was never given anything the easy way out.
Yeah.
You know, always made me finish my work. When I say work, like, you know, on the motorcycle, whatever we're doing our laps, doing our sections, you know, working on, you know, technique and drills and all that. So, yeah, I honestly, I don't know how we made it this far together.
Yeah,
but we have.
Yeah, and I mean, even fast forward, like you guys chose a very unique route professionally, right? Like, I mean, I think Rhino at some point was working with you. I know you had like BT. Like, I feel like you kind of included some people in the program at times, but like no real management, no one really from the outside. Like, and you are in the era of the man friend. Like, you're in the era of the circle and the agents and you guys didn't do that, and it worked like really, really well.
I mean, we reached out. I mean, we had riding coaches for sure, and we worked with certain people for technique. And thinking back now, I like the very beginning stages was Larry Morton. He had a motocross school called Five Magics Motocross. Like, that was the very beginning, and that was kind of like my foundation. And then I'm just thinking later on is Buddy Antonez was there.
Yep.
We worked with Ryan Hughes. And then through all that, my dad just has had a very good eye. You know, he's had a good eye for being able to see things and being able to tell me the right way and interpret it, you know.
And I'm guessing that's like off the bike too. Because there's a whole thing that you have to navigate on the bike and to just like be fast enough and competitive enough to do this sport and to win. But then there's like a whole bunch of other stuff off the bike that can like get you in, not even like trouble as such, but like you can just make decisions that are like one thing, one turn, you make one call, you have one deal, and it just like changes the trajectory of your career. And it just feels like you guys were able to avoid that. And like internally too, you know, it wasn't like you had a bunch of people around you trying to make that happen. It just seemed like you guys navigated that as a family, it's just super rare.
I guess I put a lot of that on where I grew up, you know, and how I was brought up. Like, to me, the farm life kind of brings you up a certain way. You know, nothing's easy. And not being like in the mix the whole time. So it's interesting. Yeah. I don't know what else to say, man. It's
it's just you guys just walked a super unique path, and it just paid off in such in such a huge way. And if you could, I mean, I know like there's people now that look at you guys and they wonder, like I'm having conversations with like young or parents of young guys that are like about to make the step, and they're just like, do we do the Tomac thing? Do we do this way? And you know, like you guys kind of did it a certain way that not a lot of people have been able to manage.
Well, there's more than one way to do it. Yeah, that's for sure to make it, right?
Yeah.
And you got it. That's the thing, is it's so hard to say what's the right way. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And who knows what it is. I mean, it just, as anything, everything evolves. It's just, I have such a hard time like saying like our program was the way, but it's just an interesting thing, and it
was like the way for you in a way. Yeah. What was it? Were you the kind of kid that just liked to do the work? Do you just think the farm life kind of bred that in you? Because we grew up in an area with like cane farms around us, right? So we were like right on the edge, and everything else was cane farms. I had a bunch of mates that grew up on farms, and like they were just yoked. Like all the kids were just like that grew up on the farms. They were all like, one of my really good friends, he was a sick BMX rider. And all he did was just like help his dad on farms and move and carrying shit and lifting shit and shuffling shit. And like he was just a kid that almost like he didn't even think he was doing hard work. Like he was just doing what he was just doing his normal thing, you know. And I just feel like you might have maybe had that same thing where you just kind of grew up. You're like, I don't know anything different. So when it came to riding and doing drills, and it was just normal work.
It really is normal work, right? But at the same time, my dad was like, always burnt that into my brain is you don't quit. Like you get your work done, and whether it comes to play or whatever, like get your program done. Because as soon as you quit the first time, it's easier to quit the second time. So that's another thing I've always had in my head is like, just do not quit that first time.
Did you ever quit at anything?
Practice days.
Yeah.
Like it was sometime when I was on my 85, and I don't know what it was. It either started raining or storm was coming in. I went back to the shop. He's like, no, you're going back out. Finish second moto.
So you didn't actually end up quitting, like you did do the
No,
work?
like I was like, yeah, I need to go do the work.
So you've never actually not done it. It's pretty savage.
Yeah, because I think I know that the second time's going to be easier, and it really is. And you see see people do it, and you're like, this is not the road to go down.
And does that come into your mind when you're actually racing?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
in a way.
Yeah. But it just doesn't even cross your mind as long as you have this mindset of that you're not going to be that quitter.
So there's probably times in a moto outdoors when it's 1,000,000,000 degrees and chasing Kenny and he's ripping, and you're just like, if you hadn't conditioned your mind so many times, maybe that's when you would want to quit, but it just doesn't even come up. It's just like,
in that situation, you're like, that's, I mean, you just got to think of the other guys are in just as much pain as you. That's my take on it. When it's 98 and 80% humidity is the other guys are dealing with the same thing you are.
Do you like, obviously the beast mode thing? I'll get into it probably a bit later, but I wonder if there was ever like a 65cc version of beast mode where you were like, was it like the first, you're like, oh damn, I like have that gear in me, you know, like because some people, like, I mean, I've known from people I played football with, people I rode bikes with, they're just dogs. Like that, just you can't. It's almost like, you know, you have some dogs you like give them a smack and they run off with a tail between their legs. You got other ones you give them a whack and they just they want more. But it's like you can see some kids are almost like that when it comes to like riding or training. Like, do you ever remember the first time where you were like looking back, you're like, dude, I was actually in beast mode as like a 6-year-old?
I will say around my super mini days is when things changed. Before that, I was over the top conservative on jumping jumps, not gassing enough like into a first turn, you know, not taking that little extra risk. So somewhere around that time, once I got on a super mini, like I would be the first guy to start doing some jumps, like the bigger section, hanging it out more. So that around that time is when I guess my mind changed.
And do you know like what happened different, or it was kind of like just out of the blue?
Probably just knowing like that. I mean, I don't know. If I think of the actual time frame, it's honestly just when I went through puberty.
Yeah.
You know, you just start becoming a man. Like you know, you're not going to take any crap anymore.
Yeah. You just like the body changes. Like, the chemicals change.
That's
just like
that was the time.
Yeah. And was it always that you wanted to be a dirt bike racer?
I couldn't see myself doing anything else. It's the only thing that I've ever like crossed my mind to do professionally. It's weird to think back to the time that everything starts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it literally all starts with a PW50 under the Christmas tree. I don't have anything. I didn't have any other goals or any other mindset. Like racing was racing. It's what I love to do. I know, you know, we did a few BMX races here and there, but moto was like our life at the time.
Yeah.
But my parents they at least say this to me. They're like, hey, if you wanted to do something else, we would have let you. So,
yeah.
I mean, how much do you trust your crazy mini parents, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're true to that word, but I obviously, liked doing it, and I was good at it, and I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's just the only thing I knew.
I think it's very...
And I didn't like when I was in school, because I went to elementary school, middle school, and then I homeschooled high school, right?
Yeah.
So around the end of middle school time was like, this is really the commitment and the decision. You're not going to public school anymore. You're homeschooled so you can do your schoolwork in
it's almost
unusual
like starting
times.
a job, right?
Yeah,
at that age. Almost.
That's the big commitment was around that time. And okay, this is my career path. You got to be all in. So that's like 8th grade for me, and we had support from Suzuki then. When you're on the mini bikes and stuff. But I feel like still going to public school, you can kind of get away with some things. But when your parents pull you out of school and you go home school, you're like, whoa, that's when I felt like some pressure to perform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like things really become like, okay, this is what you're going to do.
How did you, it's probably like hard to remember now, but how did you think about pressure back then? Because pressure can motivate people and pressure can push people in the right direction. But pressure can also make people, I don't know, it can just affect people differently, you know?
It's just part of the game.
Yeah.
For me, it's just part of the game of pressure. And it's like, as long as you go out there, do the best you can, and I was achieving those goals, like, fine with pressure, trying to get those goals, win races, and I was able to have a pretty successful amateur career. So, it was part of it.
Yeah. I definitely think it's cool. I think anything in life, when you like find something that you can, like, passionate is one thing, and it's like, it's good to be passionate and it's good to love what you do. But I also think that there's something to just like going all in at something. Like, I feel like you can look at things in life as like, this is my project, and at some point it'll end, or at some point it will be complete. But I like have a project and I can just go fully all in on this. And I know, like, there's been times I'm kind of like that with this, right? Like, this is our whole thing that we do, and it's fun. It's like a cool project. We're always trying to get better. We're always trying to improve. There's metrics that tell you if you're improving. But there's also been times in my life where I've just been like fully pissing in the wind, like just didn't know what I was doing. And I definitely think that it's a really cool and unique experience to be someone like you that was so dedicated to something. And I'm sure like feelings come and go. Like maybe there's times where you didn't love it as much as you do now, or less, or whatever. But like, just to be able to be all in on a project and to be surrounded by a good group of people, like you did it with your family, eventually get married, doing it with your wife. Like, it's really cool in that respect.
Yeah, I call it just being blessed, man, to be able to go down that road, and like you said, be all in on something. Just truly blessed that way. Yeah, not surely why it happens, but yeah, going back to it's like I don't know what else I would do. So yeah, all in. It's been all in on motocross. I mean, yes, we have some. Like there's things away from moto at home, but at the end of the day, it's motocross.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
When did your brother, like the timelines of him deciding to be a pilot, and did he race with you when you were younger?
He didn't do any motocross. He did some mountain bike racing, and he's like 6 years older.
Yeah.
Older than me, and he knew what he was doing early too. He went to the New Mexico Military Institute.
Yeah.
At like 15 years old, and he was gone. So I think it was the last 2 years in high school. And that was in preparation to go to the Air Force Academy. And that was a route to really get yourself in there.
Yeah.
So he right away was like, knew he wanted to go fly planes. And he went with it. Like, went to New Mexico Military Institute, then the Air Force Academy. He actually had to do, I think, a preparatory year. They call it the prep school. And then you get the actual academy, so you had to do like 5 years there. And then, of course, went on to be KC-135 pilot and a C-17 pilot. But that's the road he took. Yeah. So wild to think at 15 also, right?
Yeah. That's what kind of before I'm like, whether you guys know it or not, like when you have a dad and you have parents like that, like two like really gnarly, like just good salt of the earth people and like high achieving people, it's almost like you just get the rub no matter what in a way, right? And it's like your brother was just like all in, this is what I'm going to do. And it was he probably went away to school right when you got homeschooled. So like did it almost like kind of line up. That's probably another thing. Like your parents were able to just like focus a little bit more on what you were doing. But yeah, there's just got to be something to having parents like yours that would just, I don't know, almost just set like such a crazy example that you just born to walk the walk in a way.
Yeah, as long as your parents don't make it easy, right? So like I always, you hold them to a high standard, right? And so you hold yourself to a high standard, but at the same time, it's so easy now that I have kids. I'm like, should I be giving them this or buying them this, making it this easy? And I think back to my childhood, I'm like, I wasn't even given this or, made it this easy, at least the way I see my kids now. So trying to like.
No, dude, that would be the hardest balance, right?
It's a very hard balance, very hard balance. Thankfully, kind of have been able to have the option to do that, but it's a very hard balance.
Yeah, and because I was talking to Nixon actually today, and he was talking about like kids and the whole sleep thing, and like I don't have kids yet, but we're sort of just talking about how it all goes down. I'm like, man, I got a dog, and I was like, the dog will never sleep in the room. First night, it's crying in the bloody toilet, in the bathroom, and you're like, come on, get in here. It's like, how could you say no to kids, and like, how could you hold the kids to that? Like, I'm sure they just make you melt,
They do, but what I've noticed is the first one makes you melt, and then you're like, all right, because I have 3 now, right?
Yeah.
So the second one, third one, you start dropping the hammer. You're like, okay, we've got this figured out now.
Maybe that's you got it rough. You got it the roughest.
Exactly, because Greg was this like certain gap, right? So I was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, and then
well, that doesn't really make sense. Like I was kind of the only child to some degrgy, but
yeah, but they'd been through it all.
Yeah,
they've
been
like,
through
nah,
it.
Mate, you're not getting away with none of this.
Yeah, exactly.
When did you want to start flying planes? Then was that like an influence from your brother? Was that something you always wanted? Because you fly now, right?
I do fly a little bit. I'm like on this like basic level, right? Private pilot's license.
Yeah. Don't have an IFR yet.
No IFR.
Okay.
And anyway, like I'm flying a 172, right? I don't fly complex. I don't fly retractable landing gear or high horsepower.
Yeah,
Flying the basic 172, but I still have my license. Like I can carry people. I can go places. It's the real deal. The inspiration, number one was from my brother. And then just when I was hurt, I'm like, what do I do? But this Achilles at the time, right?
That's when it started.
That's when it really started. And I read a book. It's called Skunk Works.
Yeah.
Skunk Works.
Yeah.
I think it was by like Ben Rich. I don't read that many books, but I read this one during this time.
It? Just random?
Just a friend was like, dude, you have to read this book. It's amazing.
Yeah,
yes, that book right there. Anyway.
No way. All right. Sick. Yeah, I'll get that.
So this is all
when you're hurt.
This is like Cold War stuff.
Yeah.
Skunk Works is like a super hush-hush part of the military, like, the spook planes.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a really neat book. And at the same time, I'm like, man, I want to go fly. Like you read about all these old planes back in the day, all the stealth stuff, and that's part of the inspiration too. That's what really got me fired up.
Look up. There's a book called Chicken Hawk. This is one that kind of like got me like really kind of fizzing. It's a pilot from the Vietnam War, dude. Unreal. It's like very easy to read. Like it's a like you can kind of blast through it. But man, when you read about like some of the stuff that they were doing in these helis in Vietnam, like just dropping into these LZs with just like Viet Cong surrounding them and like flying out just through trees. Like he was basically saying like after a couple of months in Nam, you could figure out what trees you could fly through because the landing zones were so gnarly. They're just like in and out and just shit on everywhere. That was insane. That gave me like a whole new perspective of like what helicopters can do.
Yeah, I'll say that.
Will you do helis?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
No, the rotor is, statistically, I don't know if it's how much more dangerous it is. Maybe it's not, but I won't do the heli.
Yeah, mentally, that's a lot. Yeah.
Like if the engine goes in the Cessna, like I can glide for a little while.
Yeah. So what was the process of doing the license? How long did it take you? Like, so the Achilles happens, you get given this book, and then you start. Like,
There was a local ground school in Farmington, New Mexico. It's like an hour and a half from my house, and it happened to fall like literally in the time of when I couldn't be weight bearing, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to do this ground school for like 6 or 7 weeks.
Oh,
when
so
I couldn't
you did it in a chunk.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best.
And I was able just to go, right?
Oh,
of course,
sick.
I had to do some PT in that time, but really, you're pretty immobile for a while. I'm like, man, I'm gonna lose my mind, and this happened to fall around the right time frame, and then that turns into like you actually start flying. So you got to get your 40 hours. You know, you have to get an X amount of cross country time, training time, and then you have to go to a check ride. So somehow did that in 23.
That's sick. Yeah, I thought it'd been a little bit longer than that because I just heard you talking about flying and like I was like,
well, 40 hours is minimum. I think I was at like 46.
No, I thought you did it like longer ago.
No.
Yeah, so
that was it's very recent.
That's awesome. So have you got like a landing strip at home that you've put in or?
No, the tail wheel stuff like the dirt strip and all that. It's kind of in the back of my mind, but
just get one of those Cubs. Have you seen the Cubs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude.
And actually, the Southwest is some of the best flying.
Yeah.
In the country.
Yeah.
Like Utah. There's tons of great backcountry flying out west, and we have super open airspace. Like it's not busy out there. It's no man's land. Like going over Monument Valley and stuff. So it's
you probably don't have to do too much communication,
cool. No, you can do a lot of just VFR flying.
Yeah.
You know, there's not many big airspaces. Like it's all like Class G, they call it. So there's not like all these massive terminals or anything.
Yeah. Dude, a Cub out there would be sick. A Cub, a gun, a cooler, fishing rod. Like you could that's you, bro.
And
that's
you can make it happen.
That's like how I picture you, just like doing your thing. Off the bikes is just like flying around, gun, fishing rod, little cooler, coming back with some meat. Good day out, you know.
That would be the dream.
Yeah, it's fully gonna happen. No, I've been looking into doing it for a bit. I've had like a few people that have been. I actually have way more friends that I didn't even know flew. Mm-hmm. And then as I started talking about it to a few people, like one mate, Jason Thatcher, he's just like the wildest dude. He's like an adventurous, like he is adventure, that guy. And I was hitting him up about the other day. He's like, yeah, no, I got my pilot license. I'm like, who doesn't have their pilot license around me right now? But yeah, when I heard that you were talking about it, I was like, oh, I'm interested how you went about it.
It's like good for your mind, right?
Yeah.
It's just same thing with riding. It's like you have to be focused on it. It's like a professional hobby, but for me, it's really a lot like riding. Like, dude, you have to have that focus. You know, of course, you're running through checklists, but at the same time, there's a lot of feel to it too. And you know, landing and taking off every time's different. It's like same thing, hitting a turn, hitting a jump on a bike. It's just something that you don't get anywhere else.
Yeah. Was it hard for you? Did you pick it up pretty easy?
I'll tell you what, it wasn't easy. Like I thought, oh, I ride dirt bikes, I'm gonna have all this sweet feel. No, like first couple times just smacking, you know, the.
Were you scared?
Yeah, I was. Like what's really hard to get right is the sight picture when you come down onto the runway.
Did you have the little thing on the dash, the little dee 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 dee? Like, have you seen those that they use in a lot of ground schools?
I don't think. I haven't seen that. No,
they have one.
Must be a glide slope indicator or something.
Yeah, and basically, like you basically just like get the pitch to where it's like buzzing, and if you're buzzing, you're sweet, and if you're not buzzing, like don't land the plane.
For me, the best thing that helped was just looking down the runway. But
same as moto.
Yeah, keep your eyes up.
Yeah, that's cool. No, it's I can imagine that. Yeah, you'd kind of be the kind of dude that would need those kind of outlets too. You know, I feel like when you spend your whole life doing something like, I mean, extremes maybe not the wrong word, but there's a certain level of like risk and accountability and preparation, and then you get all of those factors right, and they all come together, and then your mind can go at ease. It's like it's a stressful thing, and there's a lot going on, but if you do all the things right, you enter a good space, you know.
It is that, and it's like for me, it's motocross, flying. I mean, I got a little bit of that, trying some 4-wheel stuff.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Race cars.
Yeah, race cars, that just requires a lot of money.
yeah.
But it's fun, but man, some people think 4-strokes are expensive. Race cars.
Try racing Porsches.
Try racing Porsches and race in cars, man.
What cars are you racing?
I'm not I had a cup car, the Porsche Cup car.
Yeah.
Like I did track days. I'm still a member at a track in Arizona, but I never actually went racing.
Yeah, okay.
But I got to feel like the real deal for a GT Cup car.
Yeah.
But man, that's a whole nother level of gnarly too. Like going 160 on the asphalt. It's gnarly.
Oh, yeah, those walls.
Things are coming at you really fast.
Yeah,
when I first got on the car, I was straight Ricky Bobby.
Really?
Like when he's, you know, when guys are going by him, it's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, your mind has to be trained for that. I'll tell you what, for those speeds.
Yeah. How much did you do?
I had a car for 3 years. So I got, I think, my first car in 21, and then that was like the 911.2 they call it.
Yeah.
And then I got a 992 Cup car, but I strictly was like just doing test days and like doing some track days, but never any racing. So
were you a big sim guy at all at home to like train for it?
I didn't do no.
Yeah, you just real thing.
Just real thing.
That's so savage. Yeah, I wondered the extent of the car racing stuff that you did.
Yeah, never got.
Have you ever done any track days on like a road bike?
No.
That's
got to be
on your list, bro.
It's on the list.
So much fun. It's way safer than you would think it is. I don't know whether cars felt like, because I haven't really done much race car stuff, but I remember being very scared to do the first like track day on a bike. But it's actually like feels safe because the track doesn't change, and there's just so much grip. And if you do like a 2-up or anything like that and go with like a really fast dude, you just realize that you're at like 6% when you feel like you're fully sending it of what's like actually available. But I could see you being into that. Probably just like a touch less expensive too, you know?
It is kind of funny. I feel like there's a lot of crossover from the road racers to that go ride moto, but there's not many moto guys that go ride road, right?
No.
So it'd be, I don't know why, but
it is weird because all those boys,
strange. Yeah, they all
love it and all rip.
But I wonder is it because they can't practice? Is there rules for their practice also?
Yeah, so they can't practice. They basically can't do anything with a tunable ECU. So it basically just has to be a completely stock motorcycle because they're so different. Like those guys, the flex that they get out of those bikes, they just can't even ride them fast. Like the chassis, like they're going through turns and the chassis is just like bending on them. So I think it's like kind of safe for them not to. It's like not a crossover, a comparable crossover, but a stock YZ450. It's like you can go motor that thing all day.
Yeah, I know it's that is a much different aspect of their sport is going back to practice.
Yeah,
you know, it's like how do you just take a couple months off and then go just rip? But they do.
It's just cool that it's for everyone. You know, like because that's the reason why it'll just never work in Supercross. That's what should happen. Like you should be able to, or maybe it would be the best to be like, hey guys, it's 1 day a week. That's all that you can test. It's all that you can ride. You know, it maybe if all the facilities had lock and key and there was like an AMA, if it, you know, like they'd have to have like crazy rules. But the goat farm's open on Tuesdays, the baker's factory's open on Tuesday, and that's it. But I wonder, like, is it enough? Is it not enough? It would certainly be safer. Like, I just think about...
Could be safer.
Dude, the amount of
it would be
risk that you guys take every single day is astronomical.
If you really think about it, yeah. It's crazy.
One chain.
Yeah, one chain, whatever. On the ramp of a triple rhythm section. It doesn't matter. Yeah, just anything that throws you over the bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy risk.
It's so unique in our sport. Like, do you follow many other sports, or like you into?
I don't. Like I'll watch like the Netflix stuff, the Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
But I won't sit there and just watch any other racing. I just don't.
Just like doing other shit.
Yeah, I'm like too busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, in the winter we sit and watch some TV, but for the most part, I just I don't sit down and watch the TV.
Yeah.
Like I don't, if I'm gonna do something, I get on the computer and just
vital
and just surf.
You're a big vital. I knew it. I knew it. What's your burner account?
Oh yeah,
dude, you've made some tweets lately though.
Yeah, I'll throw a few out there.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. I like just reading the social. Like, I don't have much out there, like you said, much content, but I do like reading, X and Instagram. Yeah.
What do you make of the way that the landscape has changed in the sport since you've been a pro? Like, when you came up, let's think back, Vermoto was the shit. Like, great edits. Like, content was about dope shit on a dirt bike. And then it just feels like social media came, and then the fan interaction, and everyone had to say, a bunch of idiots like me start podcasts. Like, the whole landscape has kind of changed through your career. And like you said, you read it, not necessarily like posting that much, but I don't know. What do you make of it all these days?
I think it's fine if it's growing the sport.
Good take.
Yeah. If it's growing the sport, it's fine. And everyone, really, you can do whatever you want. I mean, unless it's in your contract to post X amount, but everyone has their own platform. That's great. But yeah, it's like, I guess I think back to 2010, 11. I mean, that's right when all that stuff was taken off. But I'm fine with it. I do miss the secrecy of the Reed and the Stewart and the Carmichael days. That's one thing I wish we had. But now everything is shared. That's the negative for me as a racer. Is that everything is shared. Everyone knows exactly what everyone's doing for the program. You've got a moto day, you've got a sprint day. I mean, that part of it isn't as cool.
Yeah.
But everything else for the public to see and getting motocross and supercross out, it's good.
I like that that's your take too, because you're not necessarily the guy that puts yourself out there, and you're not like trying to do that, and you've never tried to be like that. So, maybe you could think like, if you don't put it out there, maybe you don't like it. But I like that that's the take, that you're like, it's good for the sport. Because, I mean, the sport has grown massively in the last few years. And I think it's on like a pretty crazy wave now and over the next few years. So I think it's cool that is actually the viewpoint on it, you know?
Yeah, I guess why I don't put as much content out there is I think I just overthink it. Like, like maybe I just need to not care what people think. But that's really the only reason, because I know I spend plenty of time on it, but me actually pushing out content, I just don't do much.
It's funny though. We were talking about it on the way here. Like you either control the narrative, and you push out, no, this is who I am. This is what I want to be. You almost like defend that position, or you don't, and you let people make up their own mind. And you've done that, but fully nailed it, because like there's an aura around you, and there's a, you know, like even just a random I want to ask you, you know, because it's like, oh, no,
that's true. Not many people know.
We just don't know. And it's like, that is cool when now what you're known for, like you're a American hero. You're an American badass. And you didn't try to be that guy. You didn't cultivate that. Like nothing you did except be an American badass on a dirt bike, like cultivated that image, you know? But it's just like, it's so rare for somebody to actually be able to pull that off. And it's just through just straight up hard work and results.
That's what it's come down to, right? Is I've been able to, control that narrative, like you just said, with my results, you know, and I guess your actions in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think back to what would be a good year, like 2020, 2019, Cowie haven't won a Supercross title, and everyone's like if you sit here right now and if you just walked around Anaheim in a couple days and just polled everyone, it's like Eli Tomac, the man, like one of the GOATs on the Mount Rushmore. But you go back then and the fan and the media sentiment was like, when's he going to win? He can't even win one of these things. Like he's never... The way that it can change and like the way that you let it change is kind of crazy. Like, was there any part of you that really wanted to like almost speak out and like tell everybody to piss off during that time? Because it would have been rough. You were one of the best riders in the sport that did not get the respect for it, and it wasn't until later that it came.
And it didn't come because I didn't have that championship yet, dude. I had a crazy amount of pressure on myself for that. I mean, for good reason, but that was just a mountain on me, like not having the championship. And like I at the certain time, at one time, I was the winningest guy without the championship. And then that started getting pushed as a narrative, right? Now he's taken over, whoever. But
I think it was Hannah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It might have been Hannah.
But then that, getting the Supercross championship, man, because that narrative was pushed. And to be straight up, I blew it on a lot of those years. Like 17, the thing in New York, like falling over in the turn and all that. And oh my gosh, you think back and you wish you could change some things, but I don't know. It builds it, and I was able to finally get it. But really getting that done changed a lot of my mindset and view and maybe even my attitude and the way I, presented myself in interviews or just was as a person to the media.
Did you want to like stick up for yourself? Did you want to speak up about it, or like did you ever feel like pushing back? Because you did play it super cool through that process.
No, because I was just hyper focused to try to get it done, but I didn't get it done until 20. It was like 17, 17, 18. Like I had these goofy little crashes, goofy moments, goofy races. And What
was it when you think back? Like, and now that you've done it, can you look back and be like, this is what I was doing wrong. That's why it happened.
Each year is is very different, but I just wish I had the brain that I had now. That it comes down to, as much as I don't want to admit it, being mental, right? It just took me a little bit longer to really get it all figured out.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like 100%.
It is. I mean,
100%.
You can blame the motorcycles in certain situations, but I don't know. It just, to win a Supercross championship is so freaking hard. 99.9% of it is done with hard work and talent, but you still certain things have to fall in place.
And you were going against a guy named Ryan Dungey, who was the most consistent, wasn't the fastest, wasn't the gnarliest, wasn't going to do all the big jumps first, but goddamn, that guy was going to be on the podium and he was going to be right there.
Perfect point. Racing against Ryan Dungey. It's like, how do you beat that guy in a 17-round series? And it's just like, it's so hard to be that guy and that consistent through those 17 rounds.
And like, when it comes to the mental, like, what didn't you have? Like, is it confidence? Is it self-belief? Is it blocking out noise?
It's all of the above. Like it's everything. Just believing that you are the man, right? Not second guessing yourself. Knowing, for me, like just knowing my motorcycle in different conditions.
Yeah.
You know the track's going to feel this way, the bike's going to do this, that. Knowing your training works, right? Like, am I doing the right thing at home? And there just comes a point in the time where, for me, just your mind changes on that gate, into a different mindset.
Yeah. How old were you, just out of like curiosity, when you first won in 2020?
27 or something.
Yeah, that's like, I feel like that's just kind of the right time for a young adult in a way, like, you definitely do change a lot.
Yeah, late 20s, your mind changes.
Yeah, did you feel it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's almost like that teenage thing that you were talking about, the Super Mini switch.
It is.
It's almost like another one of them, but when you're kind of in your late 20s. And it kind of makes sense that that's sort of when it happened.
It's like you can breathe, right? I just think before that time, it's like everything irritates you, or it's like you just have, I was able to get more of this, like, I don't know, I could take a breath.
Yeah.
Which led to being able to be more focused.
Yeah.
Does
it blow you away that Jett can do what he does at such a young age, when you think back about like how hard it was? Like, obviously everyone's different, and I think every generation that comes after has it a little bit easier in a sense of just like so much more information from such a young age. And if you think about the time that you get to apply that knowledge in those developmental years, like it makes sense that can happen. But is it still mind blowing? Like, damn, like he could do that at that age?
Yeah, I envy it for sure. Yeah, that he's been able to do that. Like, it's, you think back. I think back, if I had like the mind I had now, if I had man, you can control a lot of those emotional, races or moments. And going back to Jett, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, yeah,
because it's just, and you see some of the guys that have been able to do it at a super young age. But the flip side of that is that you're now a dude that's in your 30s and is still out there, and it's like, does that flame burn brighter for a shorter period of time? And it's like, what would you rather? Would you rather have, more years in the sport? Because retirement's long. Like, you're retired for a long time, like a few extra years of doing the fun stuff and like living the lifestyle that you live in. Like, that's a special thing too,
Yeah. Like, everyone's got their own path, but But man, it probably has extended my career, because it took me so long to figure it out, get that first championship. It's kept me around.
Do you ever think about Hangtown when your pro debut?
Yeah.
Was that like the gnarliest day ever, dude?
I don't know how I did it. I mean, I was just running. It was like giving a kid candy and you're just running on a sugar high, right? Because after that race, I was destroyed. We went out to dinner after the race, and I basically passed out on the dinner table, right? And then the rest of the season was just completely downhill. But for Hangtown itself, dude, it was just running the high of being at your first pro national. Like, this is it. You've made it here. It's, this is the big leagues outside the 450 class, but, this is the dream and you're living it.
And you just waxed everyone on the first go. You must have just been like, that was easy. Dude, the podium, go to the podium, Griff. How young you are on the podium as well. When you just, dude, look at that.
Remember his name now. Eli, did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that your first race would end up with an overall victory?
I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I don't even know what to think. I mean, I'm so excited that I'm not really excited. I'm not even in my own body right now. But it was kind of a crazy race on the first start.
That's mind blowing, dude. Look how little you are.
I mean, obviously, I feel bad for the guy that crashed, but it was good for me because then I went out.
I mean, you're still becoming a man at that point.
Oh, for sure. You're a kid,
right?
You're a kid.
17.
Yeah.
Had about halfway.
In 2022, Eli Tomac made the switch to Yamaha and found instant success on their class-leading YZ450F. Eli Tomac had 3 reasons for making the switch. He wanted power, and the Yamaha has the strongest and most tunable motor in the class. He wanted KYB suspension, and the YZ450F comes stock with his preferred KYB system. And finally, he wanted a cable clutch. Yamaha took the championship-winning YZ450F and made it even better. More powerful, lighter, slimmer, with enhanced overall stability and more agility than ever before. The 2025 YZ450F is available now in both Yamaha Blue, or to really look like Eli Tomac, it's also available in the Monster Energy Edition. The pinnacle of off-road 4-stroke performance wrapped in iconic Yamaha racing livery. Head to YamahaMotorsports.com or into your local dealer now.
Anyway, going back to it, because all the races were so much freaking harder after that.
Yeah, really. Would you have rather not win that in a way? That might be too far.
Yeah, it might be too far. I mean, it's how do you not? But
it added a lot of pressure.
It added a lot of pressure, and then when you I kept failing, in my opinion, not be able to get the podium right, getting these 6ths and 7ths and whatnot, and dealing with the grind of the summer. It's reality sets in really fast.
And it's wild that you won your first one at 17, just first ever pro moto, came out, blew everyone's doors off, and then you can be 27 to 10 years to win the first 450 tie. It's that's how much harder it is to win it at that highest level. That's a wild difference in the sport. It's the same thing. It's the pro ranks, but one is just the first race of the outdoors on a 250, and the other one is you got to win 17 races on a 450 in Supercross.
It's I guess if you look at the big picture, we get to have a good time frame, as long as you stay relatively healthy. I mean, 15 years, totally possible.
Oh,
More.
yeah. I think too, the injury with the Achilles, that had to have extended your career. You were going to win the championship that night. And if you did, surely.
Probably would have set sail.
For sure.
Probably would have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
now that I think back to that, it's extended my career another 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, 24 was not great, But coming back from an Achilles injury, maybe it was a success winning a race.
Yeah.
Guess I'm going to find out soon here in 25, like, because I know I'm physically more solid. You know, I'm not limping around at all or not compensating for it.
Yeah.
So we'll find out soon. But yeah, I probably would have set sail after that season.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
23.
I mean, just.
But before that, even I did sign up for the motocross because those 2 years at Yamaha, I was able to sign Supercross only deals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was kind of option for moto. But I was gonna race the moto, and then maybe that would have been it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, you won the year before in Colorado. That was how crazy is that too? Just 12 months apart, you have the highest high in Colorado, and then just fast forward 12 months, and that's like almost the lowest. Like that probably had to be the lowest moment of your career.
Oh, bar none. I mean, that's just the nightmare of any Supercross racers.
The worst case scenario.
It's literally the nightmare.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And it came true. It just doesn't even like compute with your brain. You know?
I felt that.
It just doesn't even compute.
Yeah.
It's like, how does that happen?
Yeah. That was literally
and it wasn't like I had a spectacular sweet crash into the stands, like over the bars, made this huge mistake. Dude, you could say I barely overjumped the over. Barely. And then my Achilles just popped.
Do you remember the feeling? Like it was just because you pulled off instantly. Mm-hmm. So like you had to have just known that it was done.
Yeah, I knew it was done. It felt like someone just sniped the back of my foot.
Yeah.
Like it was this crazy burn and I couldn't put any weight on it. And I thought I broke my leg.
Had you had any?
I'm like, did I really just like break my, I don't know, what's down, tib fib or whatever? I'm like, did I really just do that? But little did I know, it was, yeah.
Had you ever had any problems with it or anything like that? Or it was like tight or like...
Nope.
It's just a random... Well, is that what Jalik just did? Yeah, like, did you see that? Jalik Swell. Mm-hmm. Crazy. And I mean, obviously there's a lot of pressure. And these days, like, the modern riding technique is just so much more balls of your feet than what it ever has been before.
Yeah.
Way better for actually riding, but the load that you're putting through that part of your body. And I think like there's some crazy studies and statistics around once you're over 30, like the percentage of that.
Yeah, the
injury.
male over 30 is, I think, the highest risk category. Yeah.
So you just
so we're like...
don't even have to do anything wrong.
Yeah, people can do it just stepping off a curb too, is what I've learned. It's just, it's one of those things that can go. And like you said, as the sport evolves, I mean, that is the athletic position, being on the balls of your feet. But yeah, it's wild. It's like the knee was always the thing, right? And it still is.
Yeah, but
now these Achilles are showing themselves, techniques changing. Maybe the speeds are going up. I'm not sure.
I wonder if it's an interesting point. Like, I wonder if we're getting less knees because everyone's riding on the toes and in. Because a lot of the knees used to be because you'd get caught in a rut. Or like, when was the last time that happened to a dude at the top level? Maybe like that is more than you.
Maybe
like,
we're overlooking it, but I think it has some. There's something to it.
Did you watch the crash and like you watched it back a bunch and just like to even see if you did it?
Yeah,
it's
mean,
nothing.
I've had so many moments where you've just smashed a triple or overjumped something and loaded yourself way heavier and gnarlier in that moment. So it was just sick. Yeah.
With the number one, about to get the dub. Go back a bit. Dude, I remember I was watching it by myself in Dubai, and my brother called me instantly and was just like, bro, what happened? Like, what did we just watch?
Yeah.
Just literally nothing, eh? Yeah, go back. That's when.
You could say a tiny overjump, but not. I mean, I was still doing the triple, like, no problem. It wasn't like I had a checkup or.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just freaky stuff.
And did you think you were done after that? Like, were there any thoughts of retirement? Like, I'm not going to come back from this?
Yeah, I remember in the motorhome that night, because thankfully I was in Denver and I was able to go up to Vail the next day to get fixed. But I was like, sitting there just, telling myself at night and my wife like, yo, that's it. And then, of course, things change. But yeah, after that night, I'm like, how do you? But then it like my mind reversed. I'm like, I am not going out like that. Like that. A couple of days later, I'm like, no. I'll never let that one. Have my career in that way.
If you retired off the back of that, that's one of the biggest tragedies in the sport.
It would be a tragedy.
Like, imagine, that would be like completely an unacceptable last chapter of the story, and to come back. And I think, did you feel like this year or 2024 that the fans were even more receptive to you than ever before? Like, I remember asking you at one of the press conferences, it was at Charlotte. Bro, I was sitting in the stands and you were doing the big quad or 3 or quad or whatever out of the rhythm section, like pretty much every lap. And the fans were losing it. Just every time that you came past, your bike was just wedged. And it, like, you could literally just feel the appreciation of the fans, like maybe without that moment, it's just not the same way.
It could be. It's it's hard to say, why. I'm sure they know, like, yeah, I'm getting towards the tail end of things. I've been around a while, and but at the end of the day, I just try to be me, try to be a real person, be the same person that you are,
Yeah, on and off.
On and off,
yeah. But you could feel like
oh my gosh, yeah, you can feel the energy of the people, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any races in particular? I remember a couple I was at.
Well, for pure energy and loud would be the very first year at Denver. Not even the championship year. It was the first year we showed up at Denver.
Was that COVID years? Or was it before that?
I think it was even before that.
Yeah, okay. That was
I made a pass for the lead and it went around the stadium like the the wave of fan noise, right? It was there hasn't been a race louder than that for me.
Really?
Yep.
Was
it 19? Yep.
But there he is. Oh, were you way, like you were a ways back, were you, in this main?
I mean, that was my usual back then, was come from like 5th.
Yep, there's Eli. Yeah, listen to the crowd.
Oh, yeah. So, but that continued for, oh my gosh, like 5 laps.
Dude, you and Marv had some great races that year, eh? And Webb.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crowd's still going off.
Yeah. So that one for me, it's not even close. I mean, there's some others that are good, but dude, it just went around and around. It was like a wave.
That's so sick. And you to actually like have the presence during the race to know that that's going on, because I'm sure there's so many races where you're just like so locked in.
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, you don't really. I mean, you hear it, certain big passing situations, but for the most part, you're so locked in. But this was like it was like changing, like my mindset, don't make a mistake. Like,
I better start throwing some whips or something. Like, we need to throw down.
Yeah, dude, loosen up because you can really hear everyone. It was just wild.
Oh, dude,
yeah, talk about Denver being high and low. I've had just some crazy. I mean, I did my shoulders there, the Achilles, but then I had this moment with the whole stadium locking up in 22. Yeah,
it's an eventful place.
Very eventful.
Home sweet home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Arlington this year, the crowd for you there was insane. I don't know if you could feel that, but I was telling the boys this morning, we were having breakfast, and there was you passed Hunter on the inside. It might have been for 3rd or 4th. Mm-hmm. And there was the whoop section, and there was the inside rut, and you'd go right, and then you'd go into the whoops, and then go left.
Yeah, now I remember it.
Bro.
Yeah.
Your bike. This was you in the rut. You couldn't hear. I was like way up the top in the Monster Suite. couldn't hear another bike on the floor. It was literally just your bike making that pass. And then the crowd just lit up. And then from then on, you just kept clicking forward. That was insane. And the crowd was just losing it for you that night too.
Yeah. Speaking of making a noise, like the DBs are coming down this year.
Is it this year it's coming down?
Yeah, it's coming down. And then in 26, it comes down again.
So is that what Brian was talking about on Instagram the other day? That the lights class next year is going to be like a lot quieter?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's for across the board. But for racing, it's, well, I don't know what their reasoning is, but I hope for racing it doesn't get too quiet, you know? It's pretty cool to have that feel on the track.
Well, and I mean, you think about like Feld, they have monster trucks. The weekend before with straight through pipes. The car's got 65 engines. Like, they're making as much noise as possible in the exact same state. What's the problem? What are we doing here? Why can't, like, let's run straight pipes on these things. Like, what are we up to?
I know, it's just like you want to keep the racing. You know, for sure for public riding. Our bikes are like, dude, make them quieter actually.
Yeah,
but
even
for our
quieter.
racing, like this level, dude, make them
straight pipes.
Yeah, let us just do whatever.
What do they say? Loud pipes save lives. Mate, can you do merch? Have you ever done merch?
I've got some merch, yeah. EG3 store, but
next drop is loud pipes save lives. Eli Tomac.
Same with the V8 Formula One.
Oh, bring it back.
We didn't make that shirt too. Went to the last year V8 in Austin for the F1 race. Unbelievable, right?
Did you?
Went then the next year for V6s, and it's just like,
bro, that would have been
down.
That would have been unreal. I never got to hear it.
So hopefully we don't get to the point where like, man, we went from V8s to V6 on that energy, man. It makes a big difference for the people.
So you won't be riding an e-bike in Supercross anytime soon?
No, but I'm not against them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not in a stadium.
But not in a stadium for racing.
Not on my watch.
But for keeping the tracks open and keeping people riding, all about it.
Yeah.
Racing, no way. Like, you got to have that energy.
Yeah. Are you a big trail ride guy at all?
No.
No. Just motos.
Just moto.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do so many races. By the time you're in the season, it's like, I don't go trail riding.
Yeah. Do you enjoy, just switching gears?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy mountain biking for just like the fun of mountain biking, and do you ride a bunch around home, or that's like purely training?
I'll go out just to ride
fun.
and enjoy it. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, totally.
Big e-bike.
Because I'm one of those guys, I can only sit inside for
that's the vibe.
a day or two,
Yeah.
and I have to go get my heart rate up and go do something, or else I just call it tweaking out.
Yeah.
Like, I just tweak out. Like, I gotta gotta go do something.
I gotta go. I'll go and drive through a fence to build a fence. You ever done that?
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
yeah, we've got some great trails in Colorado. I don't even own a road bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just full mountain bike guy.
Only mountain bike guy.
Yeah.
So if I need to do like a crazy grind, or, go for, try to hit a certain target for a certain minutes, I'll go up like a fire road or something, in Colorado. But yeah, I feel like the mountain bike it offers so many different things and balance, and it's just yeah.
Honestly, I say it's just life behind bars. Just put me behind bars. Just give me a mountain bike, give me a moto, give me a 110. Just give me a thing to just go and ride with me mates. Like, that's kind of just what I want to do. We've been riding the e-bikes a bunch. Like, I've moved to San Clemente. There's like a bunch of trails and stuff up there. Just, dude, an hour after work, being in the office all day, get the e-bike, ride up the hill, smack some laps, come home. Like, dude, this, like, the fun and it's just chemicals. Like, it's literally drugs. Like, you're taking drugs. You're just forcing your body to just deliver you all of these endorphins and chemicals, and it's just so much fun. I couldn't do the road bike thing either. Like, just let me go and try and hit some shit fast.
Yeah, the e-bikes those are cool. I mean, it gets people out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really need to be the fittest dude in the world. Like, I don't really need to dig 2 laps to go at Southwick. So I just kind of want to enjoy it and not kill myself. And I think it's like more about being able to back it up day after day after day. as well, and it's just like not as much stress on your body, you know.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're that guy.
Yeah.
I figured. When we were talking before about just like the bikes and the noise, you're the last of a dying breed that just completely punishes his motorcycle. Are you proud of that?
I am proud of that.
Good.
Yeah. And that uses the clutch.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I despise the hydraulic clutch.
Really?
Yeah. Just because of feel. Like
you want to feel that thing break.
Yes. Like the window on a good cable clutch is untouchable, at least in my experience, compared to a hydraulic clutch. You know, if this is your window with a hydraulic, the window for a good cable clutch, with the right package, dude, it's amazing what you can do with a good cable clutch. And really, it comes down to just slipping the clutch.
Yeah.
So many of the new generation guys, the younger riders, they're just riding around suicide, right? I call it suicide.
Yeah.
Like suicide through the whoops. You know, you see some of these kids get bucked on like a 3 out of a turn. It's because they don't know how to slip the clutch. And they don't know how to control that moment and that pop. And it's funny. I think back to watching the guys. Like I used to love watching Reed and Stuart Carmichael, all of them. And you could hear their bikes. I'm like, you know, I'm going to practice that. Practice slipping my clutch up the ramps. And once that got into my mind, it seems like that's when I became the clutch guy. But my gosh, keep the cable clutch around. Modulate the power with that sucker too.
So when you went from Cowie to Star, did you ride the bike before you signed?
No.
Really?
Nope.
What did you know about the bike? I feel like they built it for you. Like Yamaha didn't even know they were building you a bike.
At the time, it was just my main concern was getting the right suspension on it, and in my mind, the right suspension. In my mind,
you wanted KYB.
Was getting the KYB, which I had at Kawasaki, but I also, wanted to keep the KYB, and then it just came down to, I don't know, wanting some change.
Yeah.
Wanting some change and believing if the team that Star was offering would, in my opinion, work. And that's why I went for it.
What were they promising in a way? Because there's two types of teams, right? You got a team that's like, this is our bike, this is what we do, Japan tells us what to do, we got this window, and it's a great bike, trust us. And then there's another team that's like, wait, what do you want to do? We'll put a sticker on, we'll put a Dunlop sticker on a Michelin if you want, you know? So it's like, is that kind of the vibe you were getting from Star, where they were just like, we want a 450 title. What do you want? You want Gilmore? You want KYB? Like, what do you want?
I mean, I would call it, they were willing to go pretty cowboy like that way and just let us do whatever. And that's what it came down to was getting KYB and Gilmore. So, and letting us just kind of just try whatever. And it's crazy what leads you down those roads. But when there's just so many, there's pluses and minuses to both situations, right?
Yeah.
The control bike situation, you know what you're working with.
Yeah.
You know, that no one's going to really fail or have a big oopsie, but
nothing wacky's going to happen.
Nothing wacky's going to happen.
Yeah. But
at that time, I'm like, hey, I think I need more, you know, and I just thought Star was willing to go there.
And were they true to that?
Yeah, it was.
That's got to be a good feeling because I'm sure, did it feel like a roll of the dice at the time? Like, did it feel like it was a big...
Yeah, it was...
Now, you look like the fucking best move of all time. You know? It looked like it worked. But, I mean, so it felt like it was a risk.
The fact that I won I'm like, no, it doesn't feel that risky. Like for me, I was just willing to take it, and I want to change, and I want to do it now.
Yeah, yeah. You were just gonna live by the sword, die by the sword.
Just live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the mindset at the time.
I remember seeing. Can you find? I can't believe you didn't pull this up, Griff. I'm pretty disappointed in you. ALPINESTARS shoot stock Yamaha 450 video. You remember the one? You remember? It was like the first clip that came out of Eli riding the stock Yamaha. I thought this would have been on your list for sure. He pulled up all his favorite videos. No, Tomac riding the YZ450 first ever time. You remember this?
Yeah. The new frame.
Yeah, yeah.
The 23, right?
You know that the just put in like Tomac YZ450 stock. It was a video. You remember it?
There it is.
Brother.
Yeah. I think we're up.
This
right?
is, shout out to Vital. This is disgusting, dude. So this would have been, was this one of your first times riding this stock bike?
Yeah, that was that, what's the date on that? Well, I guess the video.
Yeah, go down. Scroll over it. Where it's September 8, 2022.
Yeah, that would have been one of the first times.
Do you remember?
Because I still raced Paris on my 22, and that was after that September. Obviously, it was into October, November.
Yeah.
So this is one of the first rides. Yep. On a new one.
Dude, yeah, it's just like they built a bike for you. They were just like, here's an absolute, like I say, it's like owning a dragon when all you need's a horse compared to other 450s. And it's just like, let's build Eli Tomac an absolute dragon with a cable clutch.
I mean, thing barks, I'll tell you that.
Well, you make it bark.
Yeah.
It doesn't bark when I'm on it. It spits when I'm on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this coming out and just being like, bro, this is insane. Listen to it. You know, like, I don't know if you'd understand, but for someone like me to do that to a motor, like, it's literally impossible. It's never going to happen. Like, the void and the gap between people like me and people like you is so crazy, bro. Like, to just hear...
I'm like, oh, yeah, it looks okay, but, like, I'm, like, looking at the suspension, it looks soft, you know, like,
yeah, for sure.
But
just to absolutely belt that thing.
Yeah.
Like, that bike is like, no. And there's just so few people that can do that, you know? And I mean, I've ridden there too. So it's like, I actually know what that's like. But I remember seeing that and just being like, dude, that is hideous.
I guess I'm one of the few guys that can take more than a 450, right? You know, a lot of guys are want stuff detuned, but for the most part, like stock 450 for me is too slow, for sure. It's too slow.
Might be the craziest thing I ever said on this podcast.
They're too slow. Stock 450 is too slow.
How much faster is your race bike?
It's a lot faster.
No way.
Mm-hmm. And it's a lot faster.
Just everywhere.
Yeah, it just pulls. They pull way longer. At least my bike does.
Yeah, yeah. You're not the kind of guy.
I mean, sometimes I don't even have to shift down the start straight, right? Just ring second.
So just second the whole way down. But so even the stock 450 is kind of like that. Mm-hmm. Like you can go to Glen Helen, and again, this is like I know who I am. But it's like the stock bike, you can hold second up those hills. Other bikes, you're shifting. So it's almost like it's just taken the stock bike and just made the stock bike way bigger and way better in a way.
Yeah, and our gearboxes are different, right? They're like a longer gear.
Yeah.
So that's a massive thing too, but you still have to have the power behind it
to be able to pull it. Yeah. Do you're not the kind of guy that worries about your chassis tightening up as the bike revs harder, or because I feel like the Yamahas rev quite freely in a way.
Do.
Like KTM sometimes, like if you rev a KTM 450, it like really starts to feel like it locks up. Yamaha doesn't have it as much, but I'm not revving it as that high either, you know.
I'll just say, like, if I was to run a full stock transmission and gearing, I'd be just grabbing gears like way too often. Yeah, so that's the big difference is the transmission and being able to use first gear in a lot of sections.
Oh, okay. So you're using first as
Lots
well.
of first out of turns.
Yeah, right. In Supercross.
In Supercross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Is that changed? Like, is that something that is specific to the Yamaha that you couldn't do on other bikes?
No.
So you
like
always
I
try
did
to
it on
set it up like
on
that?
Kawasaki and Honda. But yeah, that's. I guess if you were just the normal weekend rider, that's a massive difference is the transmissions.
Yeah.
Yep, and the gear ratio.
So when you see the style change over the years, especially like you and Chase in 23, right? Like, here's a dude that's like riding the bike in a very different way. And it's like, just pause. Anytime you pause a video of him riding and it's just like what you would say is perfect. Then somehow Jett makes him look not as good. So it's like another step again. Like, how do you, as a guy that is one of the best ever, do you look at that and be like, cool, works for you, doesn't work for me? Do you feel like you've changed your style over the years, but it's like we can't see it because it's probably very, very small increments? Or like, how does that evolution of riding style kind of like affect how you think about riding?
Yeah, I mean, those guys, their form is very, picture like on point.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course you do try those things and practice those things, and really it all like starts with your feet.
Yeah.
That all starts with like where are your feet at, like having the ball your foot on the peg, and then of course like having the flatter back. If you want to say that. So yeah, I've tried to you try those things, see if they're more efficient. But it's so hard to just like completely flip the switch.
Yeah, I bet. Did you do ride on the balls of your feet?
Oh yeah,
a lot now.
Yeah, big time.
When was that switch for you? Because I remember 2019 was the first time that concept was like introduced to my mind, and it was from Townley, and he went and rode at his place in New Zealand, and it was like the weirdest thing from riding your whole life without even really thinking about your feet. But when did that switch happen and like you started and never went back? Like, who even introduced that?
Really? I mean, I was told like in my mini bike days about it.
Really?
But maybe just you have to like burn things in your head so much it just becomes like subconscious, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you start watching guys and how they control the motorcycle, and then you're like, wow, this does work. But it was put in my head, like, for sure, mini bike days. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you've kind of always been doing it, but maybe just like not as like now it's just so pronounced and like such a thing to do. Huh. Yeah, because I mean, it definitely changes.
Oh yeah. Just like
everything.
The athletic position.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny when like we used to talk about it a bunch when like in that sort of time period, and you'd get people being like, I could never do it, I'll never be able to change, but feel like it's just kind of everywhere now.
One thing I really tried to work on was just keep my feet on the pegs, especially in motocross, like big ruts and just not having to stick that leg out. It's tough on balance, but a lot of times it's once again like being efficient. Yeah.
How much do you think about technique as like a part of your program?
I will say nowadays, it's just the practice days. It's the practice days is when you think about it.
Yeah.
But that's the fine line is like how much do you race the clock and how much do you work on technique and foundation? And guys have different programs that way.
And are you always like tweaking it to see where that balance is, or do you feel like you've kind of got a pretty good handle on that?
I think I have a good handle on it. I kind of split it up.
Yeah.
But some programs, man, they'll just run it all by the clock or maybe too loose, and just whatever riding.
Yeah. So back to the whole clutch thing, right? When you're seeing guys like Chase and the newer generation that aren't using it, like, can you see what they're going for? Or do you think that it's like, where do you even think that like came from?
I don't know where it came from because they still had to grow up on 2-strokes, like mini bikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I spent a little bit of time on a 125, but maybe it's because they went straight to the 250. And I honestly, I don't know. I mean, yes, the clutch can be a bad thing, burning up, like using it, killing your momentum in certain areas. But at the same time, it's a really good tool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it almost just went out of style to do that. Like, dude, I remember being a kid and just,
well, the other problem is the 450s are so good now, and the 4-strokes, they have so much torque and power.
Yeah.
So maybe that comes in with fuel injection too, or something. I don't know. Like, be able to just lug it around and go inside and grab a handful of throttle.
Yeah, and probably being able to keep it in taller gears as well now. Like, I mean, yeah, you can ride a Supercross track you can do it in first gear. There's like a lot of sections you could be in third gear. Like, you kind of can choose your own adventure on a 450. And dude, like going back to you and Barsha in 2010 on a Geico 250, like a whole lot of bog was going. There was a whole lot of bog going on back then, and bog equals clutch.
Yeah, like getting the thing revved up, right, and being able to use it. So, I don't know what it's. Apparently, it's just like evolution. I mean, eventually, whatever 30 years down the road, or whatever it is, it'll all be e-bike with no clutch. Who knows? But it's just like evolving into that.
And was it a big part of the whole Yamaha switch? Was like that they just had that option that you could.
It was just an amazing option.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, this is a good thing, and there's a lot of work that goes into clutches. I'll tell you that. Yep.
Man, I remember what year was it? You come off winning Daytona. Can't remember if he was on a Cowie. I think he was on a Cowie. What was the last Cowie year? 2021? Look at Daytona 21 and just go after the finish. You like pulled off and your bike was just completely smoked. Like, you'd used a 450 like a tear off, basically, in 20 minutes. Go to like the very end. Where is it? Do you remember this year?
I don't. Well, once again, like I just had troubles in that generation of bike managing the clutch, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Because I'm a big clutch guy, I just wasn't able to manage the hydraulic clutch as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And it was
so it would cook it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember seeing there was one year, maybe it was this year, but dude just came off the track and I was like, how does a dude just use a 450 in 20 minutes? Like, it almost looks like that bike couldn't go another lap. Some
of that of me using the clutch though is because I'm so all about it. I have to run like a different plate setup, right?
Yeah.
Or even a different diameter. Like, if the clutch gets too big, then it doesn't have the feel. So right, you're always like,
there's like trying to find the balance of the clutch
it's
that
a fine
feels
line.
good and that lasts.
Exactly, whether or not it'll last. So that's another thing it comes down to.
Yeah, and then obviously like the spring tension.
Yep.
This might be it. Go back. Yeah, look at, they cut it. Just smoke
there it is, yeah.
Pissing out the thing.
Yeah.
That thing probably couldn't go another lap, eh? I mean, it probably could, but you know what I'm saying. That bike was just fully over it.
I had a mud race somewhere where the clutch like disintegrated.
Like, just blew apart inside.
Yeah, and I remember, this is somewhere in the Kawasaki days. Crowns was like, dude, you wouldn't have made another lap or two. Like, the thing was like, there was like broken plates in it because I was just destroying it.
Could you feel it on the bike?
I mean, it was starting to slip, but like it was going to fail very soon.
Oh, that's like.
But that happens. Of course, it was a mud race or something. Some bikes fail, but yeah.
If I'm a Supercross champ, right? There's a lot of Supercross champs. I want to be known as the dude that just wrecked shop. Like that to me is like the coolest way to be a Supercross champ. Just like I was the dude that just destroyed everything. Like this, I took this bike to war with me.
I mean, I guess so, right? I mean, we rotate motors like every 10 hours for practice. I think suspension's around 20, so yeah, they get abused.
Do you have a guy that helps you up there doing like practice bike stuff, or do you and your dad do it all?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've practice bike mechanic Kyle Lawler.
Yeah.
And then of course we have the race mechanic Josh Ellingson. So
yeah.
Yep.
So I wanted to go back to 2015. You mentioned the crash that you had at Colorado, but I want to go back before that. That to me, when I watch Hangtown and Glen Helen, I look at those races, I'm like, I don't know if anyone's ever rode a bike faster than that. What's your take on those two races?
Hangtown specifically, I've never felt anything come that easy. Period. Like it was just, dude, I could do whatever I wanted, just floating around the track. I think my fastest lap was like 4 or 5 seconds quicker than second. It was like a crazy blowout, right? And it wasn't even hard.
You just pitched a no-hitter, dude.
Yeah, it was. Oh. I can't even explain it. Everything was just right.
Turn it down a bit. Dude, that to me, yeah, when I watch that, I'm like, James, amazing. Ricky, amazing. But just in terms of a dude riding a 450 on a national, like I just don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. Like some of the momentum, go full screen, Griff. Give us the whole enchilada. Some of the momentum and the speed that you were hitting bumps, and like the ruts that like what we saw with Jett and Haiden this year at Hangtown, like that's the risk there, is because you're going so fast down hills and the bumps are so abrupt and sharp that it can send you left and right like very easily. And the way that you were carrying speed not only through those sections, but then just like the momentum, dude, it was just mind blowing. There's another video of the last few laps. It looks like there's a couple laps where it's like a minute and a half. You've already won the race, and the lap times still, I would hate to see what they were. Like you were just sending, dude, when you had a minute and a half lead. Here we go. Yeah, so I don't know. That to me, I'm like, when I watch this, it's just to me that
it was like the ultimate zone, and it wasn't even hard. It wasn't actually. It wasn't even right. I mean, it didn't even make sense in my own mind, and that's probably why it got me in trouble. Is because it was like I was like limitless, and that's what happened in Colorado. I was like, all right, I'm gonna start like turning this up a little bit, and then I had a good gap on him. That was even at Thunder Valley. Like losing track here of the track, but it was like I could just if I wanted more, I could just go, even though it lasted only 5 motos.
What was it?
It was everything. I mean, like ultimate combination.
The bike was great.
Bike was great.
You were great.
I was great. Yeah. Everything. Like
good
bike was
headspace.
ripping. Body was solid. Just seeing the track differently, jumping bumps, having the flow, not getting any arm pump, not getting tight.
Did it just feel slow in a way?
Yeah, and then it feels slow. And if you're not getting tight and you're in this like zone, dude, those are the moments that you live for.
How many of them have you had, you reckon?
They're hard to come by. Like where it comes at that ease. So I don't know. Maybe there's it's just a handful handful, really. Where it came that easy, it's a handful.
You mountain bike. I remember Sam Hill downhill. Yep. Yeah, I was talking to him about the same thing because he'd have some runs where it was just like it was sport changing. You know, the way that he would ride and the deficit that he would beat he would just put 14, 15 seconds into these dudes, and he's like 7 times it happened in my entire career. Like, and if you're one of the winningest riders of all time, right? And so, like, you can be the creme de la creme, won more than anyone, and you're like, a handful of times where I actually got it right. That's crazy.
But it's the truth. It's crazy. There's so many times that you win, and you're like, I could have done that better, or, you know, why did I take that line or get sketchy here? But there's only a handful of times where everything's just right.
And so those 5 motos,
that was a moment, of that. Yeah.
Was it easier to do? Ethan and I were talking about this the other night, and he's like, I wonder if the bikes were just a bit more pliable and a bit softer, and you're a bit more able to do it in that generation of 450.
Maybe another moment was, I think it was 2017 in Phoenix, Supercross, and it was my first Cowie win. That was another moment.
Really? Let's have a look.
Spanked them bad. I think it was like 17 seconds.
In a Supercross?
Yeah. Maybe even more. That was another one.
I don't remember this race, so we're going to have to...
See, there's 16 seconds with 8 minutes to go.
That is bad.
Yeah.
Let's try
and leading up to this, I was struggling. And then we came out to Arizona and tested a couple of days before that. Oh, look.
Little mistake there.
A couple mistakes.
We'll be right.
Reed caught it. But like you said, I got up to 16 seconds. You know, that was only 12 minutes into the main.
And
so that was a moment.
Can you remember the feeling? Like when you kind of watch it now?
Yeah, it's just shredding the whole time. Everything's super easy. Think back to 2013 when I was battling Roxon in the motocross series.
Yeah. Like
halfway through the season, I got a new fork, and dude, it completely changed my season. I think I ended up going on a run, like winning, I don't know, 5 motos in a row or something. But
this is crazy. We watched this the other night.
Yep, it was around this time frame.
This might have been like the first beast mode. Like real beast mode kind of deal. I was actually talking to Wygan. I'm like, when did you first say beast mode? This was definitely one of them. Like, this is crazy. And you know what else is wild, dude?
Yeah, I see the little arm swag there.
You land in holes right there.
Yeah.
Leg swag off that. And what's crazy, I mean, Baggett had a bit of a wrist injury in Supercross this year. But, dude, like, him and Kenny are ripping right now, too. Like, it's not like people...
So, halfway through that season, one of the Factory Connection guys came out, and they had, like, 2 or 3 forks. And it literally changed my season overnight, and I could just hit anything as hard as I wanted to.
No way.
And it whatever, changed my riding, changed everything. Was able to just hammer the bumps, jump in any hole.
Yeah, well, you could see it here.
Yeah.
Watch the end of
it. Super aggressive.
Like the end of the second set of rollers there, you were just like jumping straight into the next corner, like literally as far as you wanted.
Yep.
Like coming down here, jump. Bro. How were those bikes?
That, so, of course, the last half of 13, that bike was amazing.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I really struggled with it in the early years, like that generation of the chassis. It was
because the one before was sick.
Yeah, it was a lot twitchier, a little more rigid feeling. Like struggled with a lot of pitch in the chassis, right?
Yeah.
So like anytime you hit a whoop, it's like all the energy of the shock just went to the front end of the thing. So pitch was a big issue with it, and that was the thing. They like figured out damping in that fork that was like bottomless.
Do you remember what kind of fork that was?
It was just a spring fork.
Yeah, just
But
to,
dude,
just to show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once they started to know how to control the pitch of that chassis and the frame, then everything started to work.
Is that the thing you're probably the most sensitive to is just balance?
Absolutely. Yep, balance. And as soon as the rear gets low, I'm like out.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Big
so
time.
Acceleration?
Acceleration.
Yeah. So you kind of want that thing to stay up and high.
I would prefer more stink bug.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like over the top, super high but if it's low in the rear, dude, I'm all out.
It's wild as well that, like, because, all right, you think about what lets you go fast.
Mm-hmm.
Predictability. What, if I do this, like, you almost want to be able to see the bump and know what your motorcycle will do when you hit that bump. Like, way ahead of time. Just be like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you don't know what something's going to... You want another one? Yeah, you can have mine.
Downed it.
Yeah, it's like when you don't know what's coming next. That's when you just like you can't go fast, you know? That's probably the zone that like all of us are in all the time.
Or as soon as you get arm pump, you're just hosed.
How bad
And controlling arm
pump
pump is like a huge thing.
was that a big thing for
So
you
that was
forever?
a big problem I had. That's just a big problem. Like that is one of my downfalls is getting, if the rear is low, then I'm hanging off the back and I blow up my arms, right?
Yep.
I mean,
okay.
everyone's dealt with it, but
Yep.
a lot of my epic fails have just been straight up because of arm pump.
So those seasons where Dunge
Meanwhile, your heart rate's super low, but your arms are blown up.
and
And you can't do anything about it.
You're not even pushing.
Mm-mm.
Huh. Did you fix it over time? Like, did you ever figure it out?
For me, it comes down to bike setup.
It's just setup.
Other guys get arm pump surgery and do all this crazy stuff, change their diets. I mean, of course, some things can help, but the biggest number one factor for me is the bike being too low, falling off the back, hanging on, blowing up your arms.
No way. Would people like fight you on setup and just
Of
like
course.
not
Of
let you
course.
do that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But that's just things you just learn over time. And that's just, dude, that comes with experience. There's so many things you don't know in the beginning. And there's,
and you don't have enough like clout to make the calls that you want to make in a way.
yeah, but it's understandable, especially in the 250 years.
Yeah, they're like, shut up, child.
Yeah.
Ride the motorcycle,
like
kid.
just ride. But that's such a fine line because if you're not making your guy comfortable, then what are you doing?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's a fine line. Everyone's got a different opinion in that factor for sure, or in that way.
So those seasons with Dunge, because that would be like the thing, right? Is they're like, how is Eli this fast this one weekend? Dungy can't even see the stadium. Like they're not even in the same stadium, and then the next week he wins, and it was purely just there was a lot of like arm pump issues.
Yeah, a lot of that was, and even tracks being the sticky clay tracks.
Because
I struggled then.
It's just grabby.
Yep. So I struggled on the sticky clay, blowing up my arms early. Same thing, because it's grabby. And I struggled around that time frame, battling Dunge. Yep. But then I go back again to, say, like the Honda 450 years. I was good on clay stuff, but then I felt like I struggled in the slicker, edgier stuff.
It's so wild that a bike can just... I mean, it's obviously like a big thing, but you just wouldn't think that they would be so different and so dramatically different and just challenge you in certain... Like, it's just whack-a-mole. Yeah. You know, like you fix one problem and then you go on another bike and you got a new problem.
It's huge whack-a-mole. And I think that early generation, that first Honda I was on, that was... that taught us a lot because in stock form, I thought that thing was bad. Like it was just not good.
No
so
one liked
we had
that
to try so many things to make it work. But then as you go down the road to like 2013, the thing was sweet. But it took 4 years to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
So-
it taught us a lot of things along the way.
Yeah, yeah. Which are
A lot
very...
of trial and error, which a lot of 250 guys I know don't get the opportunity to do or even try.
Especially,
you just have to just run what you brung.
Especially if you're a kid that goes to a team with the best bike straight away.
Yeah.
Like those formative years where you kind of like get to make those mistakes and you get to learn those lessons. If you're on the best bike and you're like, there's nothing to figure out. I could see how that could potentially be a problem down the track.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
So that 2015 Honda, what made that bike so easy for you to ride?
I didn't like it until that motocross season. And then I was already at that time. I think I was already signed to Kawasaki.
You were just going, what did I do?
I kind of did until I hurt myself. I'm like, oh, it just tossed me off anyway.
Yeah. No, I actually had that thing.
But I really struggled with that thing in Supercross. I never found like the good setting.
Yeah.
You know.
And it just worked straight away in motocross.
And then we did a test, a preseason test. I think it was at Hangtown. Went up there, and then we did maybe a Glen Helen test. And then I'm trying to think what we changed. Anyway, yeah, somehow, dude, we found that base setting preseason 2015, and it was just unbelievable.
So what were the characteristics that bike had that made you enjoy it so much and made it easy to ride? Like, was it just a good, soft, compliant chassis, or was it rigid, or was it like...
Nope. I always thought they were rigid. Yeah. So it was controlling that, and then I just finding the right balance.
Yeah.
Finding the right balance.
Yeah.
Happens with me like on every bike I ride. Tell you what, the 22 Yamaha had a great window too. Like really good window.
I remember the first time I rode one of those bikes, and it was like I didn't know what was wrong with it because it went so straight, so easily. Like I thought something was wrong with the like I'd never ridden something that was like that stable. And I didn't ride Yamahas at the time. Like I'd always ridden Hondas and KTMs. And I remember like riding it at Glen Helen one day. I was with Josh Mosman, and I was like, dude, what's up with this? Like, what's up with this thing? So it was like, that's what that is. Because I kind of never really, I didn't really know what that feeling was. But that's what that was. It just like had a crazy window of stability.
Yep.
That's a weird feeling, eh?
Yeah, and that'll work in like a lot of conditions, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So you just love that thing?
Absolutely love that thing. Yeah.
That has to feel so good to like sign with a new team. And then you get on the bike.
It
and
was
you're like,
wild for doing that the first year. Tell you what, yeah. For getting that done the first year, because it takes time to figure stuff out. And then by the time you really get a chassis figured out, they change them. And for racing, it's not the best thing. Because you have to kind of start from square one. You know, it's a bummer. I'm not a fan of the production rule.
I was literally about to ask you that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the production rule because of that, and I feel that we should be able to just kind of 450 class at least, just like build what you want.
Yeah,
because I think if you lined all of us up on the same motorcycle, the results are going to be the same.
Yeah.
No,
so you
like
think...
no dig to anyone, but I think for the top pinnacle of the motorsport, it'd be really cool if it was just wide open, like not having to be stuck to these certain time frames of the chassis, you know, and production rule in general.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, I understand the economics of it, right? Like you would have to have some kind of salary cap and maybe just do a good salary cap. Like, do a good job. I like the idea of just the 450 class too, by the way. I think that's actually awesome. I mean, I would like to see, I don't know if you've heard me carry on about like nuke the privateers, but I want privateers gone. I just want the 20 best guys. We know who they are. Put them on the gate. Let them race all year. Let them all have cameras on there. Like, let's just let them all be mic'd up. Let's like actually do some stuff to go forward. But that's the thing is like, as soon as you say like, I don't like the production rule, I don't like this, I don't like that, the first sentence that comes out of everybody's mouth is, what about the privateers? And I'm like, cool, I don't think they should be here for this. Like, I just want to see the gnarliest. What can these freaks do when they're given, you know, when they're like let off the leash? I think the whole, get rid of the East-West, make the 250 class like the production class, bring them all together, full pro class, all those best 20 dudes in together. Maybe people can still qualify into that class. But once you're in the 450s, it's on.
Yeah.
It's on.
I wish, like I said, like maybe the 250 is that production, you know, and it should be the starter series, but it's like the 450s wide open. That'd be cool.
Yeah, and I mean, there's probably not like a crazy amount of money you can spend. Maybe
No.
maybe Bobby Reagan's
But,
like, son, you don't know shit.
Being stuck to the frames, you know, like.
Yeah. Like, let's get some good CNC case. Let's get some billet cases. Let's like make some room for some good shit that we need. And if you want to run a different swing arm, if you want to do this, if you want to, like, realistically, like, we're not going to get, because I think what scares them is when the AMA Superbikes died, right? Like, that series was incredible with like the Ben Spees, Matt Mladen era, but they had crazy budgets and crazy salaries and unlimited, like, and it kind of sent the sport broke. So I think that's what they're worried about is like, hey, let's keep the in check.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I've never heard someone just say like, let the 450s do it. And I just don't think you can spend the same amount of money. When you crash one of those things, you're not doing 160 and throwing it into concrete wall, unless you're Austin Faulkner. Then you are. then you are. But everyone else isn't. So maybe that's the move. Do you have any other things that you wish the sport did differently? Because you never really like get to speak out.
I know you
stuff.
you don't really get to speak much. So
Except the press conference. I'll try and ask you stuff there, but
of course I feel like I was the guy like really complaining about the whoop thing.
The 9 whoop.
The 9 whoop.
Yeah. Still not a fan.
Still not a fan.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree.
Let's get rid of that one. No. Like, I wish they would have looked at it like, hey, maybe don't build them as big. Just have more high frequency. Because I still feel like there's a lot of skill and time to be made up in high frequency and they're not as dangerous. But what else, man? I mean, this little stuff that just for the day itself, like, we don't need 3 practices. 2 practices would be good. I mean, this is little petty stuff.
It makes a big difference, dude, when you do it 31 times. Mm-hmm. That's kind of, and I mean, that's my whole point with the private. Like, why there's a guy that's like 14 seconds off the pace. Like, I don't race Supercross. It's because I'm too slow. Like, we should just make that call. Like, we should be adults enough to make. I get it's a dream, and I get all of those things. Like, great, but there's just a level that sports get to where it's like, if you want to see the best of the best, like, you just have to create this environment. You know, because the days are so, you're there at 8, you leave, if you get on the podium, you're leaving at 11:30, you know, if you stay to do the press conference and stuff, and you're on the track 5 times. It's just like, that doesn't make sense. This isn't the best for the best.
Yeah, I feel like the day could be more compressed. We're talking about race day stuff and, gosh. What else? I mean, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
do you feel like, how do you feel about the whole in-ear communication thing?
The what communication?
Like
in-ear?
Having like race cars.
Oh.
Race control. Like, I'm not necessarily saying like mechanics talking to you, telling you lines, but like race control. Because at least for me personally, I get so pissed off when there's these flag issues. And there's someone's getting docked points, and it's just, it's all so up in the air. Who did this and wrong and this and that? Like, and then if you You have to go around a section. There's no one in race control that can just say, give back that position. Or, you know what I mean? Or the race, it worked out all right for you. But when you rolled the finish line, what round was that? St. Louis last year. You rolled the finish line, worked out good for you. But like Jett didn't see the flag. Coop didn't see the flag.
No, I remember that.
Ando didn't see the flag.
Yep.
I went off on Instagram and everyone was like, well, Eli did it. And I was like, I have a feeling Eli was rolling that jump no matter what. Because he wasn't passing Jett for the win. He was just out of distance and no one was behind him. I think Eli didn't do that because he saw the flag. I think he was just rolling the jump. I could be wrong. You probably don't remember. But it was like Jett, then 5 dudes
I remember
behind
the
him.
Controversy, but I don't remember my mindset rolling up that ramp.
But my point is, let's make it a no-brainer. If everyone's getting a call from race control, and if it's like, hey, write it down, right side, this rhythm.
Yeah, those are very blurry moments on, like, because like I said, coming out of the turn, it's a tough call.
Yeah, and I just think like as far as safety goes, and just like consistency in the championship, like you implement that, you just automatically take so much ambiguity out of penalties and docking points and this and that, and then just general safety as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's some general safety things like I know a lot of people are probably opposite or think opposite of this, but I really like, even though they blow around in the wind, those cardboard tough blocks. Well, they get sucked up in your wheel. That's obviously a disaster. But tough blocks, dude, are so freaking dangerous on a supercross track. But I don't know. Wait, maybe we have to have that dangerous tough block on the track to keep us in bounds. But I really like that about WSX. Was the tough blocks couldn't kill you, because
yeah.
I've had so many moments where the tough block just takes you out.
Yeah. I mean, and hey, you would know. I definitely can't speak on that.
Yeah,
in terms
like
of
A2 a couple years ago, land on a tough block, like, oh, I might ride this out. Nope, this front end gone, disaster, huge over the bars.
Yeah, and it just wouldn't happen on the cardboard. What about this? Might hopefully your answer is it's just good for the sport. What about like miking you guys up and capturing audio from start line? You and Barsha, famous video that they play. It's like one of the only clips where you can like kind of hear what you're saying to each other, and it just gets played all the time because us as fans, we're just like frothing for any kind of...
Well, for other guys, you might get stuff from me. You're gonna get crickets. Yeah, I don't talk to anyone.
But
before, I mean,
there would be some cool stuff, maybe you and your mechanic
stuff,
and things like that.
Yeah,
Ando and Jett last year, like just to get so much of the the extra that's kind of going on. You might not be the guy that we get the most out of, but
yeah.
But when you did say something, the rare times that you do, people do want to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Would you be open to it? Don't care either way.
Don't really care. Because I'm not going to say anything. Yeah, exactly.
I'm here to race. Let me push that button. Who are your biggest rivals in your career, would you say? Because you've raced 3 generations. You got the RV, Dunge, Stu, that tail of that era. Then you got the Dunge, Marv, like Kenny.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Chase, Jett, Cooper. Like that's a lot of dudes that are really good.
For continued battling, but we have a ton of respect for each other, would be Roxon. Yeah. From beginning to now, for sure Kenny's, he's like the guy I battled the most, or always has been on the line, like knowing he could be one of the guys. And then you know, of course I had moments back in my 250 days with Barsha, getting in little tussles for like rivalry, right? Like I'm going to get this guy this next weekend or whatnot. But, and then.
How was that being on the same team?
It was, it didn't really change much. Like it didn't matter that he was my teammate. If we were battling and trying to take each other out, I didn't care if that we were on the same team. I mean, he didn't either. So it didn't even, color didn't matter. The team didn't matter. He was just, he wanted to go beat the guy.
Did it change the vibe under the tent for you? Like, did it kind of create a bit of a weird dynamic, or it was your first team really, so you probably didn't know any other way?
I just didn't really even know. It was the first team. Dude, there's so many bikes under that tent. So it's just part of the chaos, part of the madness.
So Kenny was probably the one.
Like Kenny for pure rival all the way through. Yeah. Yep. Of course, had some epic battles with Dungey and Cooper Webb and Chase for one season. Yeah, it would have to be either the Sexton season or Dungey, but continued out through the whole career. Roczen.
What makes him special as a rider?
Roczen? The one thing that he does amazing is his first lap. Like in 2016, his first lap in motocross was the craziest thing I've ever seen. The way he'd come through, and if he would get a bad start, he would pass. He would go from like 8th to 1st. I remember he did it maybe at Millville or I don't know. It was just ridiculous the way he'd come through, guys. And was able to do it clean.
Yeah. Just
wasn't like smashing dudes or causing other crashes. Just making passes and getting through everyone.
Just beating everyone on pure speed.
Mm-hmm.
Here let's watch a little bit of video. Oh, there he goes. That he did get a dude.
Yeah,
he's buried, bro.
Yep.
Shout out to whoever filmed this on their iPhone. Filmed the TV on their iPhone. Legend. Where is he? There he is.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you calling that? 12th?
Right there. Like, I literally remember him going past me right there and getting sketchy like that, too.
Yeah, dude. He had his rear wheel basically on the ground for 3 rollers then.
But he would do that to us every single race that season. If he get a bad start, he'd just get in first in whatever, a couple laps.
That was a wild year, dude.
It was ridiculous.
That was like lightning in a bottle from him too.
Yep.
Privateer team essentially. Like just went there, got to do whatever he wanted. Dude, that looks like a gnarly
and I only
day.
won like the niche races, like the Southwick and Washoe, right? But dude, he was just waxing us everywhere else.
How much of that though was the shoulder, like coming back from the shoulders? Because double shoulders is pretty hectic. Like that's not the best injury. New bike.
Yeah, it was all that combined, but his riding then was unbelievable that season. I was still struggling, to be straight up. Like, I didn't just figure it out season 1. Needed to build up some strength. Of course, I was not 100%, but still.
He was just...
Yeah,
he was good.
He was crazy.
I'd imagine there'd be some times in your career where you've seen guys and you've just shook your head and been like, what, dude? Like, how did you do that?
I'm just trying to think who else
Kenny came to mind for me.
Yeah, well, Kenny, like that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Dunge is gnarly, but in a different way,
Yeah, gnarly in a different way. Yep. Like that, for me, that was like a mental thing that he was just so gnarly at.
Who, Kenny or Dunge?
Dunge.
Yeah.
Dunge. Yeah.
That has to be very hard to go up against someone like Dunge when you just knew every weekend you were going to get the exact same dude.
Yeah, just knowing if you got an 8th, you're blowing it at that point.
You're like bleeding
Yeah,
points.
you're just bleeding. So, yeah, it's really hard to keep, and then you got to make up, 3 or 4 races of winning and just not sustainable.
What was did you ever have any of these guys? Like, how's the relationship with them, like off the track? Do you even have any relationship off the track. Like it's something quite unique
Mm-hmm.
in our sport in a way.
Mm-hmm. For my current class, no, I don't like call bro down with really any of them. I've been kind of icy that way. Good friends with Jeremy Martin but it's never crossed my mind to. It's just been so hard for me to separate those two environments. Of course, say hey, like have some small conversation, but to like have them come out to your place and train with you and ride with you, I've just never been able to do that and get on that level as a friend with any of them.
Do you reckon it'll change as your career, like you retire?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I can't wrap my head around like being a buddy with someone and then battling with them, and then it changing your mindset going into that turn into the finish line. You know, hey, I'm not gonna go for this block pass, or it's just. So I've always tried to keep that separate, but at the same time not try to create myself as a glowing target or create enemies.
Yeah,
and
you've walked that line, almost perfectly.
Yeah,
in a way, like you are crazy disciplined, dude. Like just even mentally, you know what I mean? Like there's the kind of discipline of getting up every day and doing your bed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like doing your motos, doing your but the consistency and just like character, maybe, you know, like maybe that's the way to say it. Like you've just kept it the same. It's like you've had an idea of like, this is the guy I want to be in my career,
mm-hmm.
and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, just staying true to who you are, and but like I said, not being, just not wanting to, because you know these series are so long. Like I don't ever want to create this extra drama, right? So that's another thing, like just staying out of the drama, period. Because all it does down the road, at some point, it's going to bite you.
Is there?
But then you got other guys like, oh, you know, I'm gonna, you know, he's gonna be intimidated of me or whatever. But for me, I've been the guy that's been laid low, kind of. Yeah.
Has it been
not
hard?
Been the target.
Has it been hard to do that at times?
I mean, of course there's little times here and there, but no, hasn't been that hard. Because for me, the focus is just try to win the race.
Yeah, because there is way more drama that goes on behind the scenes that never gets spoken of and never gets reported. And sometimes I wish it did. Sometimes I wish that it did, because it would make, for a fan, like it would make it even better, you know? And
yeah,
that's what, so like
yeah.
discipline.
Especially nowadays when you're at these training facilities, when there's 8 guys out there. Yeah, of course there's that there. Yeah, not for me.
No, I get it. I respect it. It's just, I feel like it's hard to just, like you just stayed very committed to that lane, you know? But I just feel like you've never even, like maybe with Jett last year, I feel like you could visibly see that you were like pissed off at like him, not like riding anything that he did on the track or anything, but just like could feel like you were just pissed off at him in certain ways for certain things. But I mean, even like I just made Barsha, that was like an obvious blow up. But yeah, like you just really haven't ever kind of let it spill out into the news or the media or anything like that, you know?
I guess another moment I think of, like in that situation like that, sometime in was it like 2017, maybe Daytona. It was Webb's first year in the 450 class, and it was in the heat race, and he was cross jumping me down one of the rhythm lanes.
Oh,
and he did it a couple of laps in a row. Like it wasn't like an obvious like big, but he would just creep over, right? And he did it a couple laps in a row, and finally, and then towards the end of the race or middle of the race, this is it. I was like, you know what? I'm over it. Like I will just kill myself as long as I bring you down too. And then afterwards, I went stomping over to his pit, and I'm like, "Welcome to the 450 class." But that was one of the moments that just completely boiled me over.
Dude.
Yeah.
And it had to have been Webb.
Yeah, I mean, it just that was one of those times, right? Very far and few in between. But dude, that was a boil over moment. Just couldn't handle it anymore.
That's so good though.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear on the podcast where Webb basically was just like, "Yeah, you can't get in Eli's head." He's like, "I'm over it. Like, I tried so hard. I'm done. Like, fully just don't want to even try anymore."
Hey,
he's gotten a lot of people's heads too.
You just try not to give him much, right? You try to. I mean, that's my MO. Like, I just, run icy.
Ice through the veins. I
Yeah.
love it. When Jett had his press conference thing in Glendale last year, I feel like I come out and wasn't like definitive. I think I said at the time that it was he does like, you know, when you're a best man at a wedding and you have to like say some that's gonna piss off like a ton of people, but you're like actually trying to give like a nice speech, and you just look and you're like, bro, he didn't just say that. I feel like that was like one of those moments, but did that like actually kind of light a fire in you? Because I feel like that was one of the things where, and then
oh yeah,
dude,
after
was
that,
bro,
the thing about not being the beast mode,
not the real beast mode.
Yeah, that pissed me off.
That one got you.
Yeah, it got me. Yeah.
I'm glad it did though, because I feel like you're obviously coming back from injury and building.
Mm-hmm.
I know what he was trying to say, right? What he was trying to say was, that wasn't Eli at his best, so I'm not going to claim that I beat beast mode. But he didn't say that. He said whatever it was that he said. I'm so glad that it got under your skin though, because I feel like that got the fire going.
I wasn't not checked out yet, you know. I was over it and done. Yeah, I would have thrown it under the rug, but yeah.
Yeah, because it was you could see like, dude, Arlington, that was the first. I feel like that was the first time last year where it was like, oh, he hasn't really gone anywhere. Like he hasn't got it every single weekend,
exactly.
You know. And so you wonder like, well, to go back to the early parts of last season, like, was it in your head after the injury that maybe the rub, maybe it's like it floated off in the Colorado air that night, you know, because that would be hard not to have those thoughts come in your mind.
Oh yeah, that was in my mind, you know. So need to go prove it that I can still do it. That's for sure. But those questions creep in your mind. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think maybe,
and then everyone beats in your head about how old you are too. That's a really frustrating thing in our sport, and I don't like that. Like I mean, I was getting told I was old when I was my last year at Kawasaki by certain people. I'm like, really? But I don't think that's the case at all. I think it just comes down to if you really are still willing to take the risk and be you.
Yeah. Yeah, and you look at other sports. I mean, I'm a big UFC fan, right? Guys don't hit their prime until they're in their mid-30s. Mm-hmm. Like, if a guy hasn't won a title yet, you just fully don't even care. Like, almost the expectation's not there. Like, and even I could feel in my own body, like, as I was doing my own training and like 30, 31, 32, 33. Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm still on the up, you know? Yeah. But in this sport, I think it's because we got so spoiled, or not spoiled, but we had this example of Carmichael, 25 or whatever he was. Mm-hmm. James. Maybe
they're 27 something, 26, like 27.
27, and then you had the Ryans that dipped early. So it was just, dude, you think that's like...
But they just accomplished their goals in their heads and they were out, right?
Yeah.
But physically...
Could have kept going.
Could have totally kept going.
And
probably.
I wonder too whether the training then was so different. Like the early Alden program and the way that Ricky would have trained through those years. Like, I wonder if you just couldn't mentally do it. And then think about, can you think about winning 4 titles in a row? Like the pressure, like you would just be, I would be over it. Like, dude, just someone, just get it off me. Like, take it. I'm over it. I don't want to think about it. So, yeah, you almost were in this weird generation where you were the next best guy after all of these greats that retired early. So it was probably almost just like the mold was set. 27, you're done.
Correct. Like,
and here's this 28-year-old.
Yep, you're timed out then by 28.
But I think you guys are showing us now that it's not the case.
Yeah. Yep. Hopefully we can prove that true.
How much longer do you think your body could do it?
My body's fine right now.
Yeah. Like, I feel like
I mean, the Achilles thing was literally just out of the blue. But, I mean, now, after that one, like, some other things healed up. Like, my back would hurt at certain times, before this Achilles injury. Now, like, I've balanced that out. My neck was starting to get kind of, tweaked out. Now that doesn't hurt anymore. It's like, you could keep going.
Yeah. Do you ever, or do you have big practice crashes that people just never really know about? Where you're not necessarily getting like you'd know if you broke a leg or something. But is there just huge ones that just no one will ever know about?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
And it's...
Dude, tell me.
In my career, there's for sure a big supercross crash. Probably once a season in practice that's like massive that could totally have gotten you hurt. Or at least every other year for me. I call it like the Reaper or the Grim Reaper to come out and get you. And I'm like, well, that was the one time my supercross this season.
Wow. So you're just reliable. You can like.
I mean, a few weeks ago in Florida, I spun up the ramp of a finish line double, and I was like full loop out, landed on my back end like case, got thrown over the front, did like this tuck and roll, could have totally smashed my collarbone, got a concussion, but happened to roll out of it the right way.
That's so gnarly. No one ever.
And then other moments hitting neutral. I mean, I've hit neutral multiple times off of on-offs, and just just so rude,
disrespectful.
Yeah, just huge crashes, and but that's where Supercross is so gnarly. It's one mistake, dude, and you're just such a fine line.
And the amount of laps, just lap after lap after lap after lap, is just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the air just as much as you are on the ground, so it's not a matter of if it's gonna happen, it's when.
Yeah. What about outdoors? Is it outdoors feel safer?
Yeah, feel safer.
And are the crashes different?
Throughout my career, for practice crashes, way less than motocross. The Supercross thing is, way more those. Wow, that was a big crash.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the story of the one that Dungey had before his last race in Vegas, before he retired? So he was saying that it was like a big, big section. He said his whole career, he went without a bike failure on KTM. I think in his whole career. Came out of section 3, boom, on the face of a big 4 at Alden's. And just the bike. He said the bike was completely done. Took his helmet off. He walked in and he's like, I'm done. I'm never practicing at Supercross again.
Wow.
And then he went to Vegas and then he won the title. And he was like, I'm done. That's it. Scared him that bad.
Wow. Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, he was just like, yeah, I'm out after this.
Yeah, it's a fine line that we walk, right?
But how's the career that he had without any bike? Like, to go a whole career without having something like that happen too is even like impressive in itself.
Yeah, it's that's fortunate because I would say I've had really good luck on 450s in general, but 250 practicing it's sketchy for the power plant.
That era too.
Yeah, my era, I had some sketchy things happen. Yeah.
That you were just
like
running
blowing up motors at 4 or 5 hours.
Oh.
Them just getting rang to their neck, in practice. And at one point I just started doing motos on the 450 because It just the 250s just were getting too worked.
Well, altitude too, right?
Yeah.
Because that's got to play a big part, especially on a 250.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it does. And it's just the bikes don't cool as well. The things are just getting rang to their neck. They're bound to fail.
Yeah. When you've obviously always done your training like pretty solo, and then you go to Star, and then I'm guessing they like highly encouraged you to spend some time at the farm this year. I'm sure it was probably like borderline annoying to have to do that. But is it good to spend that time like doing the motos and like being around the kids? And
it's refreshing. It's refreshing. It's like there's a balance to everything. There's balance to the motorcycle, balance to the training program. If you get too much of one thing, man, you get smoked. So it has been a good balance and a good change up that way. Like it does get old sometimes riding by myself. So it's been good to go down there and race with the hyenas. That's what we call them.
dude, that's
nipping at your heels.
yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. So it's good, but man, yeah. If you too much of either of those environments is on your way to burnout. Yeah.
No, it makes sense. It's amazing to me how fast you got by yourself. Do you ever think about that? Like, a lot of people would need the looks of other people and need some like another line, but you were just like, nah, I'll figure it out.
It's interesting that way because we didn't do a whole lot of amateur racing. We just hit the big events. I mean, occasional stuff here and there, but yeah, in the beginning it was all just like foundation, just riding. Yeah, riding with some friends. Like, well, we didn't even have that many locals around us, but a couple. But you can do it by yourself if you're disciplined.
Yeah. I mean,
you do race the clock. You put in the work. And that's the thing is how honest can you be with yourself when you're by yourself also, right? Not cutting yourself short.
Yeah, and what do you mean by that?
Like just actually doing the work. For me it's like someone having a home gym versus going to the gym, that sort of thing.
Yeah, or like just writing your own program and training at a home gym. It's like you can skip, but you're the only person that will ever know that.
Yeah. So holding yourself accountable is super important when you're by yourself.
Yeah, and so you get into that Star environment. Is it hard to adjust to in a way, or you've been doing it for so long? You're just like, yeah.
No, I mean, for me, it's just it is fun. Has been fun. And it's kind of the way things are going now, but I'm good with it.
Who are we got to look out for on the Star 250 team? Who's riding well?
Well, of course, Haiden rides well. Haiden is riding well. Pierce Brown's riding well. Max Anstey. Yep.
What about Davies? He looks pretty good. Sneaky good.
Yeah. He'll be sneaky good, especially for his age.
Yeah.
He's good. Yep.
Yeah, I really expect a lot from Max and Pierce. Like Danny Blair was in here the other day, and he's basically just saying like that's the model with Star. It's like Pierce, they did it with Christian Craig, they did it with Colt Nichols. Get an older guy that's available, put him on a great bike. They've got their lives together. They're married, kids, whatever, girlfriend, and you just let them cook.
Yeah,
and they're the guys that sort of tend to do well.
Yeah, if they race like they practice, they'll be solid.
Have you ridden a Star 250?
No, I have not.
Are you not curious?
It hasn't even crossed my mind because in general, I just like a stock 450 to me is too slow. So 250, no way.
Just ain't doing it.
Like not even interested because I just know that of course it's going to be a great 250, but in reality, it's slow compared to the 450.
That's like, the maths, you're right. I just thought you'd be curious because
No, I don't.
Those days.
I do not miss the 250 days one bit.
That's so gnarly.
Yeah.
When you were like really asking for more power, did you get strange looks from people? Just being like, are you sure you want it to be faster than this? Because it's just so, I feel like you might be the only one. Like you might be the only dude that's ever really tried to max that thing out.
Mm-hmm. They're surprised, and the engine builders are pumped when they hear that. They're like, yeah, let's do this. We actually get to like develop some stuff,
Yeah.
Not just tune it down a little bit, run it somewhat basic.
Yeah. Put an air filter in.
Yeah.
I put a rag in the air box.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just seems like wild that someone wants that. But did you ever think that had anything to do with the arm pump though?
No, not the power of the bike. It all comes down to balance. I mean, maybe a tiny bit, but okay.
You see where I'm going with this, right?
I do see where you're going with it, but the no way the chassis
once you get it right.
Yeah.
So you'd rather get that right than take away. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. I'm a pussy. I get it. You don't have to say it.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm curious about is who is on your Mount Rushmore of motocross?
How many do we have on Mount Rushmore? What's the total? 4? I should know that.
Just to make sure, because I'm Australian. It's 4? We're good? It's 4.
Okay. So 4. Ricky Carmichael.
Why?
Because he was so dominant.
I mean, it's obvious.
I mean, that's
but
obvious, but it's just, you look at the numbers and it just doesn't make sense. And then...
Dude, let's pause on that for a sec. You know that he has won more second motos than anybody else has won motos?
No, I did not know that.
That does not make sense.
That's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't make sense.
Like we were so spoiled with like it almost doesn't, you know what I mean? It was just like, it was so routine and it was so obvious and it was just for such a long period of time that you almost can't comprehend how great the dude was.
You can't comprehend it. Yeah. For that, the way year after year, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So,
and even like physically, right? Like he's a short guy and like racing Supercross in the big whoops era. And we all know how hard it is for shorter guys to ride in those big whoops. Like just the level that he brought. All right. Ricky Carmichael won. Who else we got on there?
Of course, James.
Yeah.
So these were the guys that I just, like, they were the ones I studied. You could say the one I idolized, James, for just him being him, right? Of course. And then Chad.
What was your moment with James? Or like, do you have any like crazy memories of James?
The Daytona wall jump. Yep. When this pops up. And then, I mean, those were the guys I always watched. We'd go down to the Phoenix Supercross. That was our local race to go down to. So I just remember being a kid up in the stands, like, oh, those 3, and they just walked on water, So those were the ones I looked up to, my idols.
And then Chad, you said Chad?
Yeah, Chad.
Yeah.
I did. I loved watching him on a Supercross track.
God, he was so good, eh?
Yep.
The way that he used to hit whoops and like, you want to talk about balance in a motorcycle? Balance in a rider on a motorcycle. God, he was just like in the pocket at all times, wasn't he?
He was one of the guys I would always listen to his clutch also.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, man, I don't know. Like those are my 3. And then,
you got space for one more, big dog?
I know I got I don't know. It's just tough with like when you're racing against these, other guys. Jeremy was probably a little bit too young to really watch a lot of his things. And I really was. I don't know.
You got to pick one more. Come on, it's Mount Rushmore.
Dude, I don't even know how to pick someone. I just Well, Vilboto. I mean, I raced him in 14. And I wasn't even close to him like in Supercross. Yeah.
He was a freak too.
Yep.
What he accomplished, especially after like some gnarly injuries too. Like almost could have had a career-ending injury. And like, dude, Budds Creek 2007 too. Like, I mean, you've done a lot of motocross nations. Could you imagine doing what he did in 07 on a 250?
Yeah. It's ridiculous, right? So if I have to pick, those are 4.
I think that's a pretty solid.
Yeah.
That's a pretty solid Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
So also wanted to talk about that season with Chase outdoors. That was probably, as a fan, one of the sickest seasons of motocross to watch. And I feel like not in an era where motocross is like, you can't say motocross is dying or it's not. That's too far of a statement. But I think that there's like so much attention on Supercross and the season goes for so long and you guys raced every single race. And it feels like the level was really high and just to be putting minutes into third every weekend. What was that? Where does that rank in like fun seasons?
It's fun now that I've accomplished it and won it. But man, talk about the pressure cooker. There's been nothing ever like it.
Really?
No. I mean, the last moto at Pollard, it's just, I mean, it was, I don't even know what to say. It's just, I mean, it literally just comes down to who beats who. I mean, we were so close through all 12 of those rounds, man. I mean, we both had like our strong points, and dude, I went through different fork systems, ran some, air forks, hybrid forks, just trying to get better, trying all these different things. But man, talk about dogging it out just round after round. Ridiculous.
Is it hard to just keep that level mentally?
Yeah, I had enough of it at the end of that season. I'm like, glad that's over for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could just see just every week. You just know. It's probably like a very Dungey style season almost, where it's like you just know that dude is going to be there every weekend.
Yeah, and we were both that, We were just there. We're just beating up everyone, battling, and yeah, talk about like it's wild to think back to that moto and with it all on the line, like it wasn't like there was any gap at all. So that was just a unique situation that I haven't been in like that.
Yeah, and I guess it is rare for our sport for him to come down like that to the wire, to the very
like
last moto.
2 points or 3 points. So it was super cool. Is whoever won. There was no coasting in the finish line.
What was your mindset going into that last race? Obviously, it's win at all costs, but like how to win? How do you win at all costs in that? Like what headspace did you have to get in to win that?
For me, it was about just having that calm. Because as soon as, those are the things that kind of changed as I got older, was being able to control those emotions and having that calm and be able to execute. Yeah. Because I think back to those years where, I had those certain moments, weird races. It's like, dude, you're just not there mentally. Being able to control that energy for that time. Yeah, you just like weren't where you needed to be. Yeah. No, it makes total sense. Yeah. So taking it one race at a time and like controlling that moment. Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes total sense. So we're like literally days away from A1, which is rad that you're here, by the way,
to it right before it. But how do you feel like this season can go? Like you definitely, from where I'm sitting, you definitely can win races. Like 100% you're winning races this year.
This is not like the send off, at all.
It's not the vibe I get, honestly.
No, it's not. Like I still believe, so we'll see if it comes true that I can win races. Yep.
And so I was watching the pre-show that they did, and you're like, this is my last full season of SMX.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see yourself signing more Supercross contracts, like Supercross only, going forward? Or you think this is just done this season?
I'll tell you what, winning gets addicting. So if I was able to win a bunch, it could be extended. But if you keep getting beat down, you're not the man anymore. Yeah, that's the last season.
I definitely think you still have more wins, like multiple wins in a season. And I also think too, I mean, makes sense when you say like, if you just don't feel like the man anymore and, maybe it's the season where Jett fully figures it out and it becomes obvious.
Yeah.
Like maybe that happens, but you're also, at least from my opinion, you're in this very unique position where like literally no one cares if you win.
Mm.
They're just like, Eli Tomac, just go to the race, bro. Like we go to the race, show up. As long as you don't get 15th, like we are paying tickets to go and see you. And it's not very often that a champion gets to that place in their career where it's like, dude, you don't need to win a championship. Please go. We really want to come. So I think that's like kind of cool too, like just not many people get there. People either dip, their performance goes so far that it's like hard to cheer for them and they're just not the guy that they were. And it's like, I just feel like you're in such a kind of a sweet spot,
I hope so. Hopefully I'm not delusional and but I do think, yeah, it's possible to win some races. So
for sure. And I think as well, like the WSX thing was probably the move as well. Like just to be so sharp. You obviously missed some races, but like riding super good in the SMX. Yeah. And then really good in those off-season races. So it's just like the momentum. Yeah. If you look to where you were this day 12 months ago, like completely different position.
Yes. Yeah. Looking back from the year before was a rush. So I've had plenty of building. Like there's no excuses this round. Yep.
That's awesome. Well, dude, I really appreciate it. This is sick. I've been wanting to do this for a really long time. And
I'm time goes fast, huh?
It does go quick. Dude, actually, before you go, any more bears try to break into your house? That was the last time I like properly spoke to you, dude. You gotta tell that before we go.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we'll go to the countryside story.
Is it the only time that's happened?
Well, the things they run around my house in Colorado all the time.
This is bears, by the way.
Yeah, black bears, right? So when I was hurt with my Achilles, this was still when I was non-weight bearing. The dog's going crazy, right, outside, and we're like, he has a certain pitch to his bark, our dog. I'm like, that's a bear. Something's outside. Actually, we were kind of having troubles with this bear beforehand where he would show up and whatever, the dog was going crazy. He's trying to get in trash cans, you always got to put your trash up. Anyway.
This thing wasn't small either.
No, it was huge.
I saw the video.
So, of course, I left the trash can out. It was like the first time I ever actually let it out on accident, or we did. And dog's going nuts. And I wake up to my wife like screaming, right? So it wasn't me that woke up, it was her. She's screaming, "Oh my gosh, there's a bear," right? So then I like roll out of bed and I'm like, is this thing in our house or what? It's like 2 a.m. I roll out of bed, like scoot over to my closet. I've got a in there. I'm like scrambling, like grab around because I don't know if like the bear's in the house, like attacking the dog or whatever. Yeah. anyway, if you wanted to bust in my house that night, you definitely could have got us because I was like dropping shells and all that. Anyway, the bear is right in our garage. I'm going out there like on a knee scooter with the shotgun. By the time I actually get outside to do anything about it, the thing like scattered, right? But it was full chaos because the dog was running circles around the bear. It was like right face to face with my wife. It was like 10 feet from her. You know, I'm fumbling around on one leg, dropping shells. Anyway, yeah, the big animals are up close and personal out there in Colorado.
So he hasn't caused any trouble since?
No garage encounters.
Because
that's what it was. Is she heard the dog barking, she opened it, and he was like face to face with her, like right there.
Yeah, I remember you showed me the video because you had like it was like the ring cam or whatever. I'm just like, dude, that's a big bear, bro. And you were like, yeah, definitely wasn't doing any Navy SEAL training that day. I was dropping shells and there was shit going everywhere. Bear could have walked into the pantry, got a bunch of food, walked out. That's perks of living up in the mountains though, right?
Exactly. Living in the mountains, you know. Living with the big animals. We got big cats, bears, elk. It's crazy.
Do you do much hunting up there? Like in the off season or like in the actual hunting season?
Yeah, like the elk archery season just happens to fall right at the end of our normal season. So I get out there a lot, you know, and hunt elk with archery, do some mule deer hunting. My dad's property is really good for mule deer hunting. But the national forest around us for elk hunting is like outstanding public land hunting.
Really?
So brings you back to your roots.
Have you been doing it forever? Like you always did it with your dad?
Yeah. We always grew up hunting, and I don't think you can start hunting big game until you're 12. So it starts, you know, of course, a little bit later on. But the archery hunting is the real deal. It's up close and personal, and it's just the real hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you eat a lot of the meat? Like does it make up much of your diet?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it fills up the freezer. I mean,
so that's the secret. That's really the secret.
It's the elk. It's the red elk meat.
That must be unreal up there though. Like, and just to be able to disconnect and go and do something like completely unrelated, no phones, no nothing, like out there.
Yeah, and it makes you think sometimes. I'll be sitting up there, you know, if it's like not a good morning hunting, you're sitting on the hillside, and you're like, the disconnect it's very interesting, from grocery store to how you eat and the protein you get and the source of your food and all that. But kind of. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will that be a big thing for you when you do retire, is like just fully living that way? Just like committing to like that kind of lifestyle?
I mean, you can't live it 24/7, but it's when we're bringing the whole carcass back and you're actually eating that food, there's really no experience like it. Like it is a true way of living and getting your food source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the kids like pretty into it? Or like they know the process and like they know that you're bringing home the meat? Too young for that?
No, they're too young for that. Yeah. My oldest is only 4, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's got to be pretty cool for them though, like at some point once they sort of start to figure that out. Because it is a very special and like lucky way to live.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, dude, thanks again. This was
Thanks
awesome.
for having me.
You've made a lot of people happy by doing this too, by the way. I don't know if you ever see our Instagram, but like we post who should we have on the pod, and it's just like Tomac, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Tomac. So
yeah,
made a lot of people happy.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck this season, mate. All
right.
As a fan, I'm going to be cheering you on.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thanks, brother.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.